This is Atomic Shinobi and today I'm going to narrate first part of what if Naruto was chosen by strongest Green Lantern ring. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
I am Sector 849's Green Lantern, Dodge Sal. I'm writing down my ideas so that, should I, my story will be preserved in the Book of Oa. No, I'm not going to die. A Green Lantern is who I am, and I'll carry out my obligation. I refuse to be one of them. For many years, I proudly protected my sector, ensuring that the sentient creatures there lived in justice and order. I followed Lantern Kilowog's instructions, and I was never let down. The green light maintained harmony in Sector 849 because I abided by the rules of the Book of Oa and the knowledge of the Guardians of the Universe. Before the other lights appeared, that is, the Sinestro Corps, who were the yellow impurities wielders and the renegade Green Lantern servants, came first. Fear. Wielders. They were killers, but they were us. Our opposites. They were what we weren't. During that first war, half of my sector fell. If the Guardians hadn't revealed the first law of 10, my house would have collapsed as well. Previously incapable of murder, our rings were now permitted to employ deadly force against the Sinestros. Like many others, I didn't question the new law. I'm not embarrassed to admit that every time one of my constructs took down a fearsome soldier, I felt gratified. Ring status report. Sinestro deceased. Each yellow ring said. I felt a surge of joyous emotion as I heard, sector scan annotated for replacement sentient. Feelings. Isn't that what this whole thing is about? The Guardians initially learned that sentient life also produced a wide range of emotions, which were represented by the various composite colors in a visible light beam. They decided to use their new corpse weapon, the green light of willpower, to harness the spectrum's balance. The Green Lantern Corps upheld the Guardians' oath to police the universe and promote peace for countless millennia. The Corps and even the rest of the universe were unaware of the other colors and emotions on the spectrum. Until the Sinestro Corps rose to power, that is. Knowledge of the spectrum became all too common after the power of fear was discovered and the universe was suddenly attacked by warriors wearing yellow rings. Almost immediately, more corpses with various lights emerged from the distant corners of the universe. Even the Sinestros, who I considered to be vicious, were nothing in comparison to the Red Lantern's horrific, murderous wrath. We were at war once more. We didn't fully understand why the Guardians had given us the mission to suppress any fresh emotional outbursts, both inside and outside the universe. What started with our corpse cyborg Alpha Lanterns evolved into a massive campaign against emotion across the universe. In any case, our efforts were in vain because the remainder of the spectrum was soon made public. Too soon, they too had their own corpses, the violet light of love, the indigo light of compassion, the blue light of hope, and the orange light of greed. It would seem reasonable to assume that the Guardians would request an alliance with the Indigos or at least the Blues. Rather, they are viewed as equal enemies at worst and minor annoyances at best. We were all at war too soon. Within days, entire industries collapsed. Just a few cycles ago, my own, 849, did the same. According to my family, the light has even destroyed my house. I'm not sure what color it was. I don't even care right now. Because my family is my enemy at the moment. The Black claim that they are now ringwielders themselves in death. Even the Guardians themselves probably didn't suspect it. According to the rumors I had heard, former Sector 2814 Green Lantern Aben Sur had spoken to him about a lost prophecy and a forbidden chapter in the Book of Oa. Our demise was the last chapter in the Green Lantern Corps stories. The chapter's title, The Blackest Night, was the only clue to our new foe. Death was the absence of light and emotion if emotion, or more accurately, life itself, was expressed through the presence of light. Nobody could have imagined that death also possessed power. Light and life were devoured by a wave of dark emptiness that swept over everything when the war of light reached its peak and the skies became bright. There were only the dead. The dead now rise, and they arrive in countless numbers. Their black auras appear as powerful hands, and they also wield rings of their own. Given the current notion of Green Lanterns joining forces with the Sinestros to fight the dead, it would be inaccurate to say that they are a wave of terror. Rather, the deceased are just that, dead, emotionless. They want to devour us all, and they are now called the Black Lantern Corps. My partner in the sector has already passed away, but he continues to fight, this time on the side of the Black Tide, even after he dies. My family has also passed away. I just wrapped my wife in a cage and watched my son smash a red lantern. Agent Orange himself takes her staff as an indigo warrior rushes in to try to redeem her. The order that we Green Lanterns have worked so hard to preserve disintegrates all around me into a clamor of mayhem. When he notices me, my ex-partner comes over. I get emotional when I see him too. The guardians would chastise me for having feelings, but I believe that having feelings, regardless of the type, is the ultimate act of defiance against the tide. I am Sector 849's Green Lantern, Dodge Sal. I'm going to keep my word. Ring status report. Green Lantern Dodge Sal of Sector 849 deceased. Sector scan for replacement sentient initiated. No viable candidates detected in sector. Fail. Safe protocol engaged, returning to OA. Warning. Orange Lantern in pursuit. Begin evasive action. You do not have the ability to overcome great fear. You have not been chosen. Warning. Yellow and violet energy detected. Warning. Black energy detected. Emergency. Universal barrier breached. Entering the bleed. Coordinates lost. Contact with central power battery lost. Contact with Lantern Mogo lost. Contact with OA lost. Exit from bleed confirmed. Unable to identify universe out of the 50. 2. Attempting to re-establish contact with OA. Warning. Partial memory core corruption. Fatal error. Contact with OA failed. Initiate emergency protocols. Coordinates confirmed. Closest planet identified as equivalent of Lantern Hal Jordans of Sector 2814. Sector scan initiated for emergency replacement. Candidate sentient confirmed. Subject has the willpower to overcome great fear. Target sentient chosen. As a ray of sunlight struck him squarely in the face, Naruto muttered. In his sleep, he turned, his face falling directly into the pool of drool he had used to soak the pillow. He turned again, shivering. He mouthed, "Year, lips are too wet, Sakura. Chan." Then he turned again, straight into the sun. Naruto opened one eye in the middle of his hef. Awake stayed and awkwardly looked for the alarm clock on his bedside table. Before he could get a reasonably good look at the time, a number of used cups of ramen, soiled laundry, and the clock itself were fumbled to the floor. 11:38. He exclaimed, abruptly waking up. Naruto leapt from his bed and exclaimed, "Iruka. Sensei's treating me to ramen at noon." However, he stumbled on the same cups and clothing he had thrown moments earlier. His head, like the rest of him, crashed hard on the floor, just missing the edge of the bed. He muttered, "Me," as a lump appeared on the back of his skull. He sat up, rubbed his bruise, and looked around his room. I really should have cleaned this pigsty yesterday. Or the day before. Or the one before that. He went on. He got to his feet resolutely. Right, no more excuses. This gets cleaned today, he declared. After ramen. And training. And dinner. But today it is, he added after giving it some thought. Naruto retrieved his regular clothes as soon as he could, changed, and ran to Ichiraku Ramen, the place where he and Iruka usually had lunch together. The streets were too packed for him to move at his best speed, so he leapt up to the hidden village of the Leaf's rooftops. Many of the random onlookers looked at him with a contempt that still hurt him, while some of the people below eyed him with interest and others with mild jealousy of his ninja prowess. Naruto accelerated his pace in the direction of the tiny ramen bar, acting as though he was not paying much attention to these final ones. Iruka told him, "You're late, Naruto," as soon as Ichiraku appeared. When Naruto made a last-ditch effort to land in front of his first teacher, he nearly stumbled. "Ah, sorry, Iruka. Sensei," he said, apologizing by rubbing the back of his head. "Just for that, you're paying today." Exclaimed Naruto. He took out his frog wallet and opened it to show Iruka its few contents, complaining, "No fair, Sensei. I still haven't recovered from loaning Arrow Sennin so much money during the training." Hey, calm down. I was only joking," Iruka shot back. With a sigh of relief, Naruto smiled and went inside the small shop with the older ninja. "Welcome," said Old Man Tucci, who was preparing a batch of ingredients with his back to Naruto and Iruka. Without opening his eyes, he turned and instantly recognized two of his most devoted clients. "Oh, hello, Naruto-kun, Iruka-san." It was not necessary for Naruto and Iruka to place their lunch order. Tucci quickly prepared 2 bowls of steaming ramen because they were familiar with what they wanted to eat from their frequent visits to Ichiraku. Naruto finished his bowl and ordered a second even faster. "No matter how many times we've eaten here, you still surprise me, Naruto," Iruka remarked, casting a worried glance at his wallet pocket. "I can't help it. Kakashi. Sensei will be out of the hospital soon and he's promised to train me in making my own technique." With genuine surprise, Iruka questioned, "An original technique? Already?" Naruto replied, "Yeah. While gobbling up strands of ramen. He says I could become stronger than him, too." While Naruto finished the last of the pork ramen and began to drink the sauce, Iruka remained silent. At long last, he thought, It had happened. Iruka was convinced that Naruto had outperformed him simply by receiving such an offer from Kakashi. Iruka grinned, contentedly stating that he was filled with pride rather than any jealousy for his former student. "You've come so far, Naruto." After stopping his drink, Naruto carefully returned the bowl to the table. His grin had vanished, replaced by a grim scowl. "Not far enough. I couldn't save Sasuke." Uncertain of how to respond to the abrupt reversal, Iruka paused. "Naruto." He pounded his fists on the table, startling Iruka and Tucci and nearly toppling the ramen bowl. 3 years, Naruto started, almost 3 years I trained non-stop with Ero. Sennin, all to become strong enough to bring Sasuke back. I even promised Sakura-chan I'd beat the pulp out of him and drag him back if I had to. But when we found him during the last mission, I couldn't do anything. He just toyed with us as if we were nothing. After some silence, he continued. "Is he gone for good? Even if I keep trying, will I even be able to bring him back?" Iruka searched for an answer for a long time. He hadn't witnessed Naruto in such a state of mind in years. It didn't fit him and it wasn't like him at all. Iruka finally responded, "You brought back Kazekage Sama, didn't you?" Naruto was now staring back at Iruka, absorbing everything that was said. "You saved him from himself first, and then from Akatsuki. Even on your first mission, you got through to Haku and Zabuza, which for any other ninja would have been impossible. I know you'll reach Sasuke. And you will bring him back one way or another," Iruka said, giving Naruto a pat on the back. Iruka gave him a reassuring smile, and Naruto's frown gradually changed to one. With a determined nod, Naruto said, "Thanks, Iruka-sensei." Naruto thanked Tucci and Iruka for the meal before making his way to the training area. He reasoned that Kakashi needed to make sure he was ready for whatever the Junin had in mind if he was going to train him for a new technique. Naruto looked to his side and glimpsed Konohamaru sprinting up a tree. "Oi, Naruto. Nichin. Watch this," Naruto exclaimed. Every step passed a cut in the bark, but Konohamaru stumbled and fell off before he reached the highest point. Although Naruto hurried to try to capture him, Moegi and Udon arrived before him. Naruto thought with some disgust, "You've been at this since morning, Konohamaru-kun," as Udon said, his nose dripping a big booger as usual. "Maybe you should stop for." "No way," retorted Konohamaru. Quickly getting to his feet, he ran toward and up the tree once more, coming just short of his previous attempt. As he extended his hand to assist the other in climbing, Naruto questioned, "Why are you trying to learn tree climbing anyway?" Moegi responded, "Ebisu. Sensei's chakra control training, on his behalf. He was teaching us a simpler method but Konohamaru here wanted something faster." "So then the closet pervert came up with tree climbing?" "Yeah," replied Konohamaru, "but he didn't say it would be so tough. All he said was that I had to balance my chakra right." Naruto asked aloud, "Hey. Reminds me of when Kakashi Sensei made me do the same thing." "Really?" exclaimed Konohamaru. "How'd you do it, huh? How long did it take you? Any tips you can share?" "Oi, slow down." Naruto resisted Konohamaru's eagerness before the younger genin leapt him. He went on to ask, "Why do you want to learn chakra control so fast anyway?" Konohamaru smiled at him at this point. "I already told you, Naruto. Nichin. I'll be the 7th Hokage someday, so I'm gonna train until I surpass even you." At this, Naruto cracked a grin. Thus, he reasoned, Konohamaru still viewed him as his rival. Undoubtedly, he had matured and was gaining knowledge beyond jutsus. Konohamaru appeared to Naruto to be a 3-year-old younger version of himself. He remarked, "So that's how it is, huh? Okay. Listen up, then. I'm going to teach you the right way to do tree climbing." After a few minutes, Konohamaru, Moegi, and Udon watched with excitement and attention as Naruto walked up and down the tree. "You got all that? It's not all about guts and who's got the most chakra. Relax, gather your chakra to your feet and focus on the tree. Find the right balance. Too much will crush the bark but too little and you won't stick." The younger ninjas nodded, HN, and don't give up. It can take a long time until you can walk on the tree, but after a few days you'll be able to run up all right. "A few days?" asked Konohamaru. Then he grinned broadly and said, "You shouldn't look down on me, Naruto. Nichin. I'll show you what a Sarutobi can do." Inquisitive, Naruto halted his movement and leapt from the tree, while Konohamaru inhaled deeply, executed a few seals, and started to gather chakra. He was following Naruto's instructions to remain composed and cautious while ensuring that the chakra was properly balanced. Naruto briefly questioned whether Konohamaru would actually be able to scale the tree in a few more attempts. Fortunately for Naruto's pride, His focus was broken by Konohamaru's abrupt rumbling stomach. Udon, Moegi, and Naruto couldn't contain their laughter. Moegi joked, "I told you we should have eaten lunch sooner." In response, Konohamaru said, "I don't have time for eating. I want to learn this new technique as soon as I can." "You can't generate proper chakra with an empty stomach," Naruto clarified. "No wonder you were starting to have trouble climbing. But, just take an hour break and get some lunch. You'll do much better after that, I promise." After a few moments of contemplation, Konohamaru flashed a cunning smile. Heh, so you're buying, Nichin?" Naruto's positive attitude abruptly changed. "Huh? I never said." Konohamaru cut in. "Okay. It's settled. Naruto. Sensei is buying us all lunch." Konohamaru turned and started to march away without waiting for Naruto's response. Udon and Moegi trailed closely behind. "But I already had." Ignoring Naruto's grumble, Udon remarked, "It's very kind of Naruto Sensei to take us out like this. I'm almost broke, I can't just. Hooray for Naruto Sensei, I'm going to eat double portions today." Following Moegi's sobs, Naruto stammered, but, he opened his frog wallet once more and counted the small amount of money he was going to lose with a mournful expression. There was no point in whining. He sulked as he followed his unofficial pupils slowly. Eager to resume his own training, Naruto made his way back to the training grounds, trying not to think about his financial situation. He was unhindered this time, and he soon arrived at the location where he and Sakura typically train. They had vanquished Kakashi there shortly after he returned to Konoha. The same location where Sasuke, Sakura, and he had turned into genin. Recollections of the last test Kakashi had given them started to surface. The first indications of a real team appeared that day when Sakura and even Sasuke offered to eat lunch with him in defiance of Kakashi's orders, even though they were unable to get the bells at the time. The subsequent missions were the same. Sasuke, Sakura, and Naruto were genuinely evolving into more than just a close-knit ninja team, even though he was still occasionally a haughty bastard. Their friendship was growing. Family. However, before Team 7 had even started, Sasuke had to throw everything away in order to pursue his vengeance. "Sasuke," pondered Naruto. He approached the center of the 3 logs in the grounds, the same log to which he had been bound, and asked, "What are you up to? Are you really willing to become Orochimaru's next body?" He punched the log and said, "You'd really toss us all away, even yourself, just to get to Itachi? You idiot. We would have helped if you asked." A voice yelled, "You finally made it, Naruto?" Naruto turned, a little startled by the surprise. He was pleasantly surprised to see Sakura emerge into the clearing from the forest. He wasn't overly thrilled to see Sai, the newest member of Team 7, with her either. Sai smiled weakly at Naruto as she held up her arm to greet him. Although it appeared somewhat phony and forced, Naruto reasoned that since he knew Sai, he was honing his utter lack of social skills. "Sakura-chan." "Sai, what are you doing here?" Retorting, "Isn't it obvious? Sai thought training together would help us get together as a team and especially help you with your upcoming training with Kakashi Sensei." Bewildered, Naruto questioned the new recruit. "Huh? Sai? It was your idea?" "Yes," said Sai hastily. "I read in a book that supporting your comrades in their likes is important in establishing friendship." Naruto had to acknowledge that Sai was making a significant effort to fit in. "Hey, Sai, you're a quick study. You know, you can support us next time by treating us to ramen." Sakura reprimanded him, putting on her typical frightful expression that Naruto had come to dread. "Don't take advantage of him, Naruto," she said. "It's okay, Sai. Inviting people to lunch or dinner is only if you want to, or if someone genuinely can't pay." Naruto was only joking, she said, turning to face Sai and instantly changing her expression to one that was much friendlier. "Ah, I see," Sai uttered, memorizing the information. "How kind of him," Naruto thought to himself. "In that case, allow me to invite both of you after our training today is complete. But not to ramen. The high salt content may be why you have such a small penis, Naruto-kun." Sakura flushed instantly, and Naruto became enraged. The latter shouted, "What the hell, Sai? You ass? And here I was thinking you were making an effort to being friends with us." Sai held up his hands in protection. But I thought making jokes helped remove barriers and help establish friends." Naruto continued his tirade, saying, "You don't joke about that kind of stuff." Sakura was giggling by this point, finding the sight of the two mildly entertaining. She muttered to herself, "Naruto, you're acting almost like you were with Sasuke at times." "I'm sorry." Sai backed off, defending himself by pointing to his head and hands. He concluded, "It is not really like that at all." Yours is about the same size as mine. Here, let me show you, as he started to unzip his own trousers. Sakura was the first to react this time. Sakura clobbered Sai over the head and sent him sprawling before he could say anything more. Don't do that kind of perverted stuff in front of a lady. Naruto, perspiring, said slowly, you really asked for it, Sai. Sai rubbed the expanding lump on his head and said, a lady? Where? Before Sakura could clobber Sai once more, Naruto leapt on her right away. In vain, he fought to keep Sakura at bay and exclaimed, damn it, Sai, you're really gonna kill us both. Shanaru. For a while, Team Kakashi managed to train in spite of Sakura's outburst. Sai was completely focused on collaborating with Sakura and Naruto for the first time since joining, and the results were outstanding. Given Sai's ink jutsus, one of the exercises in particular, where Sai had to look for and locate the other two ninjas, was particularly successful in enhancing Naruto and Sakura's stealth skills. At first, it was difficult to understand that he could use tiny ink animals that blended in with their surroundings to scout them out. Their ability to blend in and distinguish between painted animals and real wildlife was enhanced by repeated attempts. Finally, on the last try, Naruto managed to elude detection and ambush Sai. Naruto was told by Sai, you've improved, hey. So have you, was his reply. Sakura remarked, that should do it for today, referring to the rapidly fading sky. Naruto hurriedly added, right, dinner time, Sai's treat. Sakura frowned. She glared at him and said, didn't I tell you not to press him on that, Naruto? It's fine, Sakura, Sai said. I don't mind paying for the both of you, especially since Naruto has no money left. Sakura and Naruto both said, huh, how do you? I was practicing my detailed detection skills, such as when trying to pick a guard's pocket. Your wallet is completely empty, Sai said. Sakura questioned him, you're broke? How come? Well, choked Naruto. Having to admit it was embarrassing. I kinda, had to buy lunch for Konohamaru's team after, helping them with tree climbing. You did? Inquired Sakura. That's really nice of you, Naruto. Sensei, she continued with a playful smile. Naruto frowned and blushed a little. Drop it, Sakura-chan, he said. Konohamaru called me the same thing today. Sai interrupted, saying, it's out of respect and admiration, Naruto. I read in another book that good teachers reward their students when they do well, and students likewise look up to their teachers. So, Sai, tonight you and I will treat Naruto. You mean that? Thanks, Sakura-chan, Naruto exclaimed, his enthusiasm ebbing and flowing once more. Come, then, Sai said. I know a good location where they serve nutritious meals, perfect after a long training session. Naruto said to them, you guys go ahead, I'll meet up in a second. Sakura questioned him, is something wrong? I'll be right over, he replied, returning to the 3 logs. I'm fine, he said. There's just one thing I need to check. Sakura returned the call, don't take too long. After that, she and Sai went into the forest before returning to the village. Once more, Naruto stood before the central log. He was reminded of the past once more. These were thoughts of the good times, not the bad. In addition to wanting to fight him during the Chunin exams, Sasuke nearly died to save him from Haku and shielded Sakura from a crazed Gaara. Naruto reflected on how he wished those moments would recur. He briefly recalled his 2 unsuccessful attempts to reunite with Sasuke, first by himself and then with Sakura, Sai, and Yamato. He ignored those thoughts and concentrated on the here and now. Training had gone pretty well that day. Although Sai couldn't take Sasuke's place, he was actually growing into a new friend and ally. In addition, Kakashi would soon teach him a brand new, personal jutsu that would enable him to overtake Sasuke. Naruto raised his gaze to the sky. He refused to give up. Team 7 refused to surrender. Naruto addressed the stars and said, just wait, Sasuke. I'll bring you back. His hand went up to the sky, that's my ninja way. Until you're back in Konoha, I'll never stop reaching for you, because, he said. Emotional resonance confirmed. Startled by the suddenness of the unexpected sound, Naruto spun around and looked around. And he shouted, who's there? The rustle of leaves in the wind and the chirping of a cricket were his only responses. Sentient located. Naruto turned once more and pulled a kunai from his pouch. A small bush to his right was illuminated from the inside by a dim light. The blade of the kunai dug right into the plant as he hurled it quickly at the source. The light itself reacted by shifting and darting from the bush. A ball of green light appeared and began to fly wildly. He asked aloud, just a bug? Pretty fat. He looked at the light ball inquisitively and said, It's not like Shino to play jokes, so what was that voice? As he took a few hesitant steps forward, he asked himself, was it this? Too motionless for an insect, the big green firefly remained motionless in midair. Naruto examined it more closely and discovered that it lacked both a body and any discernible wings. He briefly believed it to be a ghost. The light, however, blazed and raced in his direction. It settled itself neatly in his middle finger before he could react. Abruptly, a voice reverberated into his mind, and a bright green light surrounded him. You have the capacity to conquer extreme fear, Uzumaki Naruto of Earth. A beam of sunlight burst into Naruto's face, and he mumbled as he turned in his sleep, his face falling squarely into the pool of drool he had used to soak the pillow. He shivered and turned again, mouthing, "Year, lips are too wet, Sakura. Chan," and turning again, this time straight into the sunlight. Naruto was unable to fall asleep this time, so he yawned groggily and looked around, finding that he was back in his room, still in his usual pajamas, with the mess still all around him. As his mind slowly regained consciousness, he scratched his head uneasily, asking, how did I get here? Just now, wasn't I in the training grounds? When his hair became tangled in something on his right hand and was violently pulled, his thoughts stopped. Ow! He yelled, reaching back instinctively and ripping out the tangled hair. Why me? He said out loud to nobody in particular while massaging the hurting spot on his skull with his left hand. And what pulled? What? He described how the torn hairs were entangled with an odd looking green ring in his middle finger, which had a round head with an inscribed inner circle and two horizontal bars on top and bottom of the inner circle. The design resembled a lantern of some sort. The ring's appearance at least reminded him of the last thing he saw, even though it didn't address the question of how he returned to his location from the day before. Oh yeah, last night, that green talking firefly. Something about me being fearless was mentioned. Is that related to this ring? He asked, continuing to gaze at the ring. I have no idea, he asked, crossing his arms and closing his eyes as he tried to think of more information about the ring, but nothing came to mind. He lost focus when he heard a loud rumble in his stomach. Oh, right, he said, gripping his stomach, I didn't get to eat dinner last night. That hit the spot, damn it, and Sakura. Chan was treating too, I'll have to say sorry later. Naruto hurried out of bed and made himself a toast, to calm it down with some. He said after taking a few bites. Well, what? I forgot the milk again, he said, grabbing an empty glass. Last time, did I even purchase it? Dejected, he grabbed another empty glass from his cabinet, filled it, and sat down to eat after he hastily got up and checked the refrigerator once more and discovered that there was only water to drink. Then he noticed that milk had been added to the empty glass at the table. An intruder? He shouted, scurrying to the nearby sink and snatching up a dull knife. His senses scanned the apartment for a few seconds, looking for any indication of an unexpected visitor, but all he found were the same soiled laundry, trash, and empty ramen cups that he had neglected to clean up in the previous days. He cautiously, silently, took the glass of milk and sniffed it. He thought, doesn't seem poisoned. After taking one last look around and finding nothing, he took a sip. He shrugged, sat back down, and gulped down the remaining glass when he didn't faint or die. All right, it's time to clean, no ands, ifs, or buts, he said solemnly, closing his eyes for emphasis. I'm going to do the dishes, laundry, and trash removal. They will clean up this pigsty. With a determined pump of his fists, he continued, pausing briefly before adding absently, at least, when I finish training and after lunch, and... He paused when he noticed a slight green glow, opened his eyes, and was startled to see that the mess had vanished. The laundry was clean and neat, the dishes were washed and put away, and the empty ramen cups had been thrown to the trash, which had then been bagged and prepared for disposal. He felt a chill creep up his spine and a cold sweat trickle down his face. Yeah. I have a haunted house. His neighbor never had a chance to hear him complain about someone stealing his milk or blame him for the incident after hearing his scream, so he yelled and bounded out of his window as quickly as he could. With no idea of where to go as long as it was away from the haunting, he ran and ran, jumped and crawled, without stopping for anyone or anything in his path, and he ran and ran until even the Kyuubi's endurance was insufficient to keep him going. Finally, he stopped, stooped, and gasped. What the devil? Was that right? He let out a gasp. Hey, Nichan Naruto. After another bout of heavy panting, Naruto glanced up to see Konohamaru, standing upside down the branch of the same tree he was trying to climb the day before. Are you alright? Konohamaru. After taking a final deep breath, Naruto straightened up and looked at the younger genin, who was shocked that he had learned to climb trees in a single day. On two nearby trees, Udon and Moegi were attempting to run up the barks, but neither was quite reaching the target branches. Nevertheless, they were rising fairly high. "So, Nichin, what are your thoughts?" With an evil grin, Konohamaru said to Naruto, "I told you not to underestimate a Sarutobi." "Hey, you should be thanking me and my genius skills," Naruto replied. "You'd still be stuck if I hadn't taught you how to do it right." Konohamaru shot back, "You just can't bear to admit that your greatest rival is catching up to you," adding, "I'll surpass you soon if you keep sleeping off training." Naruto grunted as the boy laughed at his expense, and when he stopped, he added, in a slightly more serious tone, "Why are you out here in your pajamas, anyway?" The blonde then recalled his strange story for being out in the middle of the village. "I'll tell you after you jump back down. I'm fine here, I want to continue practicing holding my chakra just right." As if on cue, Konohamaru's feet unlatched themselves from the tree branch. Gravity took over instantly, and the young genin found himself falling headfirst to the hard ground barely below. "No, you really should, Konohamaru," Naruto claimed. "The way you're standing right now, if your chakra isn't balanced perfectly He didn't have time to finish." Naruto's tired feet and lungs resisted his attempts to run towards the falling ninja, and to make matters worse, both Moegi and Udon were in the middle of jumping back down from the tree. "Konohamaru-kun!" They both shouted, and Naruto realized that only he could catch Konohamaru because there was not enough time for him to turn and land upright. The back of his mind knew he couldn't reach him in time, but the rest of him couldn't accept it. "Catch him," he told himself repeatedly, but his legs could hardly follow his orders to move more quickly. Konohamaru's head was inches from the ground, and Naruto reached out with his right arm, but he was still too far away. "Get him!" Konohamaru grunted at the abrupt stop, and a moment later, when Naruto finally realized what had happened, the hand vanished, allowing Konohamaru to drop the final inch. Moegi and Udon hurried to their teammate, who sat against the tree and rubbed his head, as a dazzling beam of green light burst from the ring on his middle finger and raced towards Konohamaru before Naruto could even register what was happening. Naruto stammered, "Wah," and silently raised his right hand to his face, gazing in wonder at the ring. Konohamaru also stumbled, saying, "Chan, how did you?" I don't know." Naruto was unable to respond further because his mind was racing, slicing through trivial details and wild conjecture, preventing him from drawing any conclusions. Was the light actually solid? What was the hand like? Was it something from the ring or my chakra? In any case, what is this ring? Were only some of the questions that clogged his mind. The ongoing silence only served to confuse him further, so he decided to say the next thing that came to his mind. "I was attempting to apprehend you." Then that hand just suddenly exploded. It was initially just a green light beam, but then it came from that ring you have, Moegi explained. Changed into that firm hand. After recovering swiftly from the fall, Konohamaru got up and walked over to Naruto. He tapped the ring lightly while giving it a close look. "Perhaps it's a chakra weapon?" he inquired. After a few seconds, Naruto was able to respond, maybe, realizing that the talking was, in fact, assisting him in gathering his thoughts. "I'm positive I didn't use any of my own chakras or create any jutsu." Udon started, "You mentioned that you were considering capturing Konohamaru-kun when the hand materialized. Perhaps the ring responds to focus." He thought, only one way to find out, and he told the others to stand back. After they did, Naruto took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and instinctively made the Kage Bunshin seal. Rather than collecting chakra or performing a jutsu, he concentrated on resuming the light arm. His mind guided his thoughts to the ring, and he tried to order the ring to create the light again, but after a few seconds, all he felt was a slight breeze. He stiffened his muscles and concentrated harder until his head hurt from thinking about summoning whatever power the ring had. Whoa! After hearing one of the children say this, Naruto opened his eyes and jerked his hand out to get a clear look at the ring in its hand, but he was unable to see anything. For what purpose was that? He frowned as he asked. Nichin. The ring was beginning to glow. With a broad smile and wide, open eyes, Konohamaru responded. Naruto looked at him curiously, but Udon and Moegi nodded quickly to confirm it. All right, let's give it another go. Naruto took a deep breath and started to focus once more. He followed the same procedure, gradually erasing any thoughts that did not revolve around using the ring once more. His mind cleared and his will concentrated once more, and for a brief moment, his ring finger tingled slightly. Naruto, there you are. He scowled when he noticed that the ring was the same as before, but the female voice instantly snapped him out of his reverie and returned him to reality. Sakura-chan, he said, quickly identifying his teammate, who was wearing her typical attire in contrast to him. I have searched the entire village for you. When she reached the group, Tsunade Sama paused and looked curiously at Naruto, asking, "Why are you wearing your pajamas?" He replied, "It's because of this ring," pointing to the green ring on his finger. "I had it on me when I woke up this morning, and ever since then, strange things have been happening." "It looks like just normal jewelry to me," Sakura said, glancing back and forth between Naruto and the ring before placing her hand on Naruto's forehead and asking, "No fever? Did Sai hit your head harder than we thought yesterday?" "He's not making it up, Sakura-san," Moegi said. "Just now Konohamaru almost fell doing tree climbing, and the ring made a green hand that caught him." Naruto remarked, "Sakura-chan, you're good with chakra. Can you check it out?" After a few seconds, Sakura said, "I don't feel any chakra from it," after taking Naruto's hand once more and placing her other hand on top of the ring. Tsunade Sama should be questioned during the briefing. "Short. Looks like you're training with Kakashi. Sensei will have to wait," she stated. "We have a mission to do." When Tsunade said, "I don't feel anything," the fifth Hokage released Naruto's hand and straightened up again. "Are you positive you saw a hand emerge from it?" "Konohamaru would be in the hospital if it hadn't happened," replied Naruto. "He and his teammates can tell you I'm not making this up." "Very well," she said, approaching her desk and standing in front of her chair. "I'll ask Neji or Hinata to check it out after you've returned from the mission," she said. "Hokage Sama, what do you want us to do?" Captain Yamato questioned the village chief. Tsunade paused, sighed, and then gave Team Kakashi a close look. "I want you to infiltrate the Metal Country's hidden village of Steel." After hearing Tsunade, even Sai twitched a little, and Sakura and Yamato had to quickly recompose themselves after shifting momentarily from their positions. "Country of Metal?" was Naruto's response. He was shocked to see that no one was staring at him oddly, as he had been expecting to be made fun of for his ignorance. "It's expected," Yamato stated. "Even some Junin may not know about this village." Sai stated, "The Metal Country is located on an island south of the Fire Country and is extremely isolated and closed off from the rest of the region. According to reports, a sheer steel wall enclosing the island totally isolates the nation. To say it's secretive is an understatement," Sakura went on. "Absolutely nobody enters or leaves the island, and any information about it is surrounded by more rumors than facts. So, why are we entering that room? If they prefer their privacy, it would be best to leave them alone," Naruto said nonchalantly. "Before today, aside from the usual spying, that was the opinion of all the other great countries," Tsunade stated. "But the latest report we received last night means we have to change that policy." She was informed by Shizune, the Hokage's assistant, that one of our top Anbu teams was returning from a mission in the southern coast, when they suddenly lost the ability to use any chakra. "Did they get attacked?" Yamato inquired. "Not exactly," Shizune replied. "They immediately went into hiding in anticipation of an enemy attack, but nothing materialized. They were able to shape chakra again precisely 3 minutes later. But a minute later, they lost their chakra once more. As they looked into what was causing their predicament, this 3.to.1 minute cycle kept happening. They discovered that the effect circled an area of nearly 20 kilometers, based on the size of the area of the coastal cliffs where it was present," Sakura said, "with the hidden steel at its center, enclosing." "Precisely," Tsunade replied. "If the Metal Country has developed some sort of chakra dampening weapon, it is imperative that we find out what they want to do with it and how to counter it." While Sai, Sakura, and Yamato remained solemn, Naruto smiled widely and said, "Now that's a real mission." All 4 members of Team Kakashi nodded resolutely. "I'll dismantle that weapon and turn it into scrap." At Naruto's remark, Sakura hung her head and put her hand to her forehead, saying, "Figures." "Naruto, this isn't an assault mission. You 4 must be discreet in gathering intelligence," Tsunade reprimanded him, getting to her feet and speaking loudly. "Additionally, your skills will be severely hindered if the report is accurate. Proceed as carefully as possible." "With all due respect, Hokage Sama," Yamato started, "wouldn't Team Guy or Team Kurenai be more suitable for this kind of secret mission?" "When the chakra weapon is activated, Team Kurenai won't be able to do much," Tsunade said, sitting back down and crossing her hands. "Although Team Guy is returning from the western provinces, I have asked them to participate in this task as well." The Hokage got up and offered Yamato the mission details before any of the ninjas could ask any more questions. After Yamato accepted them, Tsunade concluded her briefing by saying, "You will leave Konoha in 2 hours. They will join you as soon as they return, but this is an urgent matter that requires an immediate deployment. I anticipate that you will return here in less than a week after arriving at the Hidden Steel tomorrow evening. You get it?" "Yes, ma'am," Team Kakashi gave a coordinated response. Rejected. He gasped and woke up with a start, and as he looked around quickly, he discovered that he was still in the clearing where he, Sakura, Sai, and Captain Yamato were spending the night camping on their way to the hidden steel. He let his breaths come in short gasps and then wiped his sweat stained face with his sleeves. He thought about going back to sleep, but he knew that would be nearly impossible after the dream he had just had, so he got up quietly, so as not to wake the others, and went into the forest. When he was getting ready for the mission, he had thought about leaving his green ring behind and worrying about its capabilities later. In fact, he had taken it off as soon as he started packing and put it in a drawer, but as he was about to leave out the door to his apartment, something in the back of his mind told him that he should take it with him. He wasn't sure why, but it seemed right. At the last minute, he turned around, took the ring out of the drawer, and put it on as he walked out the door and headed for the village gate. Nevertheless, after the dream he had just had, he started to wonder if it was a wise decision. "What's the matter, Naruto-kun?" Naruto instantly turned to face the source of the sound, fortunately only Sai, as he then realized that, for some reason, he had just aimed the ring on his closed fist at his teammate rather than reaching for a shuriken or kunai as he had instinctively done. Naruto retorted, "Don't scare people like that," and lowered his arm. "I apologize. I'm still learning how to know when to disregard ninja training. Data. In any case, I'm fine. I simply had a strange dream." What was the matter? Sai's attitude had changed drastically since he joined the team, and Naruto turned his head in confusion. "Since when did you become so concerned about others?" "I read in a book," was Sai's somewhat predictable response. Okay, Naruto thought. "You read in a book that a good friend looks out for his comrades' well-being." Sai grinned and said, "That's correct. Did you read the same book?" Naruto shivered. "That's not what I meant. Anyway, it's probably nothing. Dreams are like that, you know." "Perhaps," Sai pondered, "but I know that dreams can occasionally be subconscious manifestations. Are you having problems with this new ring you got? Since the encounter with the Hokage, you have appeared to be quite interested in it." "Could be," Naruto said, acknowledging that his thoughts had been straying about the ring during the journey, and that at times he was falling behind the other members of the team, necessitating calls to catch up. There was lots of green stuff in it, but a lot of other colors too. Colors? Weird, as I mentioned. You know, I was literally nowhere. I felt like I was floating in nothing at all, and it was completely dark. It was also very cold. Then, however, there was only one light. It started out faintly before suddenly exploding. He emphasized by extending his arms as he spoke to Sai. Sai came to the conclusion, "You saw an explosion." "Yes, but that wasn't typical." "Yes, it was initially all white and bright, but it later divided into different hues. There were a lot of colors, after all. Orange, yellow, blue, red, and I believe purple as well." "Indigo," amended Sai. "What? You seem to be describing the colors of a rainbow," he said. "It's a common misconception that between blue and violet is purple, but it's actually a shade of blue called indigo. Have you also read that in a book?" Naruto made a joke. Sai's always stoic response was, "I'm an artist," adding, "Color theory is basic knowledge." Anyway, naturally, there is also a lot of green. Then, inexplicably, the lights increased until the darkness vanished. Then they got into a fight. Sai had a curious expression for once. The light was fighting? With the same expression, Naruto said, "Yeah," adding, "It seems like they were just bumping into each other while attempting to be the smartest." However, that isn't the most peculiar aspect. Eventually, the lights abruptly changed to animals. But I'm talking about really strange creatures, particularly the orange and red ones. I thought I was going to get burned every time they got close. There were a few others that were pleasantly warm. The green one, which resembled a cross between a shark and a whale, then paused and gave me a look as though it recognized me. "You were right, Naruto-kun," Sai responded, "It is strange." "That's not the worst of it," Naruto added, lifting his arms and crossing them over his chest. "The darkness returned when the fighting was at its height, and then it just ate the color animals. The last to leave was the green one. It struggled, but despite all of that, it was absorbed. Then it was all black once more. It hurt because it got so cold. At that moment, I realized I was also being eaten." He said, "I fought, leaving out the part about panicking, but it continued to consume me. I woke up just before it was done with me." Even after Naruto had finished sharing his dream, Sai remained silent, lowering his head briefly and putting his left hand to his chin before saying, "Given what you told us about this ring of yours, I can understand the green light. However, I cannot explain the others." Naruto remarked, "It's unnerving," with a slight shudder. As Sakura-san said, "The Hokage." Sama will investigate as soon we return to Konoha, he said. For now, it's probably best to concentrate on the mission. Naruto said, makes sense, and as Sai was about to walk away, he added, thanks. For what purpose? He shrugged and said, I dunno, for just. I suppose you're listening. At least I was able to unwind. You're welcome, said Sai, turning to face Naruto with a smile. After all, this is what friends do. Naruto nodded in response, observing that Sai's smile was growing more sincere. The two went back together in silence so as not to wake Sakura or Yamato. He took another look at the ring before arriving at the campsite and muttered one final memory of the dream. That green shark. Whale, its name. Ion? So that's the hidden steel, Naruto whispered, speculating about the wall's connection to the metal country. By the next day's early afternoon, Team Kakashi had arrived at the southern border, which was a tall, sheer cliff that plunged into a narrow strip of jagged rocks. The cliff itself stretched for miles on end to both the north and south, and off in the distance, the team could see another similar cliff jutting out of the ocean. In contrast to the rock face in front of them, the sea mountain shone brightly in the last of the sun, indicating its artificial origin. Glancing out from the final strip of forest before the edges of the cliffs, Yamato said, we're at the location the Anbu team first reported they lost their chakra. He tested one of his wood jutsus and made some hand seals quickly. Mokuton. Just in front of him, a little bush appeared at his command. Sakura came to the conclusion that, if the weapon exists, it must be off right now, after observing that Yamato's ninjutsu was still functional. Then let's enter and start a fight. Punching his right fist into his left palm, Naruto yelled. Sai held him up and said, first, please let me investigate for any enemies. He swiftly removed a scroll and brush, dipped the brush into the scroll's ink container, and painted a variety of mice. Ninpo, Shoju Giga. The ink mice scurried out onto the cliff face, while the rodents dispersed, looking around for any unpleasant surprises or traps. Some even dove off the ledge to scan the sea. After a few quiet, and tedious to Naruto, minutes, Sai nodded and said, all clear. At last. Come on. After saying this, Naruto hurried out of the brush and into the open, stretching his arms and legs as the others left more composedly. What are you doing? Stretching, Yamato was informed by Naruto. You wish to reach the island by swim? Sakura questioned him with astonishment. Why not? It will be simple and... That's what, stupid, not to mention exhausting, evident, and horribly exposed, Sakura interrupted. Sakura's right, Naruto, Captain Yamato said, but I have an idea. He squatted down, picked up a nearby pebble, and sketched a crude map of the country, the bluffs, and the water between them. Sai, I need you to do some air reconnaissance on the village, he said. When he finished, he drew an arrow from their end of the coast to the hidden steel diagram and explained. Once we know the layout of the land, I'll use my jutsu to tunnel below the seafloor and into the metal. Use a bird native to this coast to reduce suspicion, he said, drawing an arrow from their current location, below the ocean drawing, and into their destination. Without hesitation, Sai called forth an ink seagull, which swiftly soared to the metal wall that protruded from the ocean. Minutes went by, and even though the bird had shrunk to a mere dot, the team could still tell it had a ways to go before reaching its destination. Naruto broke the silence by saying, you were right, Sakura-chan, that would have been a heck of a swim. It should be reaching the barrier soon, Sai stated. I should have some information sure. What is that? When the Anbu indicated the metal country, Yamato cut him off. He and the others saw what appeared to be a puff of white smoke emerging from the walled city, followed shortly after by two more puffs. Are you hearing anything? Sakura inquired as a faint whistle started to come from the distance. Naruto and the others were initially confused as to where the sound was coming from, but as it grew louder and higher pitched, they gradually realized what was going on. Be careful. Yamato gave the order. Naruto and his group were almost unable to land on their feet when the ground they were standing on exploded a second after they leapt back, sending wood and leaves flying past them and lifting rock and dust high. Shortly after that, another explosion rocked the forest behind them. Gosh! Have they already noticed us? Yamato swore. Naruto sneered as he gazed at the massive crater created by the initial explosion, which contained a black, heavy metal ball the size of a human head. No wonder they're called the Metal Country, he said. Be careful. Something is coming. Sai cautioned the team as they looked up and saw what appeared to be a large, metallic bird that cast a large, menacing shadow as it sped above the waters. Dozens of people, each armed with what appeared to be metal pipes fitted with wooden rears, leapt from the metal glider and quickly released large parachutes that slowed their descent sufficiently for Team Kakashi to react. Jutsu no Kage Bunshin, Giga Choju, Doryuso, Doden. While their attackers continued to descend without resistance, the team encountered nothing where they had anticipated using their jutsus. What took place? Sakura shouted. My chakra! I am unable to use chakra, Naruto responded with a shout. We can't. The anti-chakra weapon is real, Yamato declared. We'll have to use taijutsu only for 3 miles. Sai, go! As soon as one of the soldiers above aimed his stick at Sai and pulled a curved metal splinter, Sakura hurried to tackle the Anbu root. A bang sounded, and a miniature cannonball dug deep into the ground where Sai had been standing just a moment earlier. Soon after, all of the other soldiers aimed their weapons at the team and fired, showering them with metal bullets. Get under cover! Naruto, Sai, and Sakura hurried to follow Yamato's order, ducking behind a big boulder that shielded them from the hidden steel's attacking forces. The shots kept coming at different intervals, but they kept stopping Team Kakashi from moving. Suddenly, the firing ceased, and Naruto cautiously peered out to see dozens of armored soldiers encroaching on their position. Gosh! He said. The soldiers halted when they were close enough, but they kept their muskets aimed high. One of the men, wearing the nation's insignia of a cast anvil and wearing more polished armor, advanced ahead of the others. I am the hidden village of Steel's Lieutenant Kisho. You 4 are under arrest for espionage against the Metal Country, the head officer said. We're not spying. From behind the boulder, Yamato retorted, we're looking into claims of strange activity inside the boundaries of the Land of Fire. Naruto pondered why Yamato was only sharing half the truth about their mission, but the captain cut him off when he motioned for him to draw his kunai. Sakura and Yamato then removed some explosive tags from their pouches. We witnessed one of you call forth a bird and have it fly directly toward our borders, even if your story is accurate. The lieutenant retorted, you won't be hurt if you surrender peacefully. Yamato shot back, you have no authority in the Land of Fire, and said, go now. So, it's useless. Remove them. The platoon immediately resumed firing at the rock, and as the hail started to lessen, Yamato and Sakura threw their kunai at the soldiers, which landed in front of their assailants and exploded a few seconds later. Some soldiers fainted, while others just staggered, but all of them halted their fire for a brief moment, and the team used the opportunity to launch out of their cover. The 4 of them aimed almost exclusively at the unarmored faces and necks of the soldiers, taking out at least a dozen officers before the smoke cleared. Naruto and the others hid inside the explosion smoke and attacked as best they could, using only taijutsu and being extra careful to eliminate as many soldiers as possible for good. You can fire whenever you want. The Konoha ninjas struggled to avoid them all as Kisho gave the order. His officers immediately followed it, spraying the area with a deadly rain. Naruto threw 2 shuriken at his closest assailants, causing them to drop their rifles as they embedded themselves in their hands. However, 5 more soldiers fired at him before he could react, and he barely dodged their bullets. Gosh! He cursed. While the soldiers turned to him and reloaded their guns, Naruto took a quick moment to see that Yamato, Sai and Sakura were faring no better than him. He saw a soldier take aim at Sakura's exposed back. Sakura. Chan, behind. He didn't have the chance to finish as the familiar whistle came back. The soldiers immediately crouched and braced themselves, and the 4 ninjas turned towards the sea. Naruto suddenly realized he was standing in an exposed outcropping of rock only a few yards long and too thin for comfort. As the whistle grew into a higher pitched whine, he rushed back onto solid ground. His effort was in vain, for just as he was reaching his goal, an extremely loud explosion right in front of him rocked his ears and sent him reeling. The ground beneath him crumbled to nothingness and cascaded down the side of the cliff, but the force of the blast sent Naruto flying farther off. By the time he had a chance to yell, he was falling helplessly towards the jagged coast below. Naruto. The metal soldiers took advantage of the situation and immediately surrounded the remaining ninjas. Sakura screamed out, reaching out helplessly towards him. Yamato and Sai, so shocked that they forgot their current situation, rushed to join her at the edge of the bluffs and watched in horror as their friend fell to his doom. As the ground below grew unabatedly larger, Naruto felt the buffeting of the coastal air. He searched his pockets and bags desperately, but all he had were extra kunais, food rations, shurikens, and 1 exploding tag, none of which could help him. There's no jutsu, Kage Bushin. He tried, but he was still unable to shape any chakra, so as a last resort, he called out to the 9 tails in his mind for assistance. To his detriment, the beast was completely silent, seemingly also stifled by the hidden steel's anti-chakra weapon. At that moment, he realized he was going to die. He was filled with regret. He had so much more he had wanted to do. He would never be accepted by the village. He would never be Hokage. He had failed to protect his comrades above. He had failed Sakura in particular. He had betrayed her by promising to bring back Sasuke at all costs. And Sasuke would become Orochimaru's new body, and he would never return. All of you. I'm very sorry. I failed, he muttered, closing his eyes, letting out a final sigh, and accepting his fate. The planet Earth's Uzumaki Naruto. You have to get over this terrible fear. Naruto was startled back from the edge by the sudden appearance of the enigmatic voice. Below, the sea was closing quickly, but he still had a few seconds left. Nothing else was in his immediate vicinity, and the voice was different from the Kyuubi's. It was firmer but calmer, and it reminded him somewhat of Sai. He was positive that none of his ninja tools could speak, so there was only one thing left. Ring, is that you? With hesitation, he asked. Affirmative, the voice said right away. Naruto asked without hesitation, save me. The response was, unable to comply, in the same monotone as before. Then, if you refuse to assist me, how am I going to get over my fear of dying? The secret lies in your willpower. When you want a positive response, it will happen. He was not focused on making the ring do something for him at that point. He had ordered himself to save Konohamaru despite the fact that it was almost impossible at the time, and every other time he had only tried to command the ring to respond. Naruto gasped when he finally understood what the ring meant, and he finally realized why he had been unable to recreate its effect after saving Konohamaru. With his hopes high, he asked quickly, and once I make it so, what are you able to do? The ring's response was mysterious but equally astounding if taken literally. Anything. If the ring could do anything, it would be best to keep his commands simple until he was safe. Naruto would have asked for more details, but now that the fall was almost over, he closed his eyes once more, but this time he clenched his fists and collected his thoughts. He thought of only one thing, just like when he caught Konohamaru. He whispered to himself, stop. Recalling his training, he concentrated as though collecting chakra. Stop, he repeated, not knowing how he would do it, but commanding himself to obey anyhow. Stop. No matter how close the sea was now, he yelled, I want it to be, and he gave the order. Until everything in him finally wanted it to be. He opened his eyes and let out a last cry. Stop. Abruptly, the ring came alive. In a dazzling emerald flash, the cliffs, the distant metal country, the approaching sea, and everything else vanished from view. Welcome to the Green Lantern Corps. All right, men, Lieutenant Kisho ordered. All soldiers pointed their muskets to Sai, Sakura and Yamato. Yamato immediately began performing some seals in the hope the barrier was off, but the lieutenant gave the command before he could finish. Fire! The Konoha ninjas prepared for the end as dozens of thundering bangs rang out at once. The three besieged ninjas were suddenly surrounded by a translucent green wall, and the bullets stopped in mid-air, crashing into it. None of the projectiles passed the wall, instead falling harmlessly in front of the stunned soldiers. Out loud, they questioned, what the? Sakura asked the Junin, Yamato. Taiko, did you? But was interrupted by a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. On the happiest day, on the darkest night, nothing bad will get past me. As everyone searched for the source of the voice, Sai was the first to notice it and widened his eyes before pointing to the sky and saying, up there. When Sakura and Yamato saw what Sai was indicating, they both gasped and looked up. As that, Yamato started. Naruto? Sakura concluded, her teammate was floating in the air, supported by nothing. He was surrounded by an aura of emerald green, and his normal attire had been changed to a tight black and green jumpsuit with white gloves and boots that would easily fit in a guy's closet. A symbol that vaguely resembled a lamp was placed on his chest inside a white circle, and his eyes were covered by a green face mask, but Sakura could see that underneath, his blue pupils were now also shining green with some unidentified power. The head protector with the sign of Konoha had also been changed to reveal the same lantern on his new suit, and at the end, the ring on his finger glowed dazzlingly brightly. Those who worship the power of evil, watch out for my power. The light of the Green Lantern, Tt Ibeo. The cave's darkness stood in stark contrast to the afternoon outside they had just left. Even though he had used the technique innumerable times for previous meetings, there was always a brief moment of confusion and acclimatization to the reduced lighting. The other seven, or at least their silhouettes, were gathered around a small torch that stood in the middle of the circle he and the others formed soon after his powerful eyes attuned themselves. He completed the assembly of 9 with his companion at his side. One of the figures remarked, "You're late, Itachi, Kisame, because of the nature of the jutsu." The voice was distorted and rasped, but Uchiha Itachi had heard it enough to recognize it right away. The only other ninja with eyes that might be more dangerous than his own did. The gray Rinnegan of the Akatsuki leader collided with Itachi's red Sharingan. After saying, it couldn't be helped, Kisame excused Itachi and himself. We received your message during lunch at a small rest inn. Kisame nearly cut an artery in his forehead when he said, "Really? I thought you hunted live fish in ponds and oceans." Another shadow, this one with green eyes that were pale and without pupils, told his partner, "I swear, Hidan, that mouth of yours will get you killed by one of us someday." One more person said, "At least you know he means what he says, Kakuzu.san, I'm getting sick of hearing dumb, supposedly innocent comments from a certain someone, HN." As the masked shade next to Deidara said, but, Deidara. Senpai, I thought we were now a team, so I could help you out with my awesome skills and jutsus. Deidara perspired and said, "See?" Kisame snorted, "Faye, he means well, at least." Itachi remained silent. The leader, he was sure, knew, but the others did not. They wouldn't be treating Toby like the awkward newbie. He presented himself as if they were aware of what he and Pain knew about him. As usual, Itachi remained silent and only watched the conversation with a casual interest in Pain's partner Conan, whom she also suspected knew the truth. Zetsu was just as quiet. He didn't talk much when he wasn't handling organizational issues, but his normally composed manner, or rather, his dual personality, seemed a little startled, even uneasy. The leader undoubtedly called this impromptu meeting at his request. The meeting's leader declared, "This meeting will now come to order." The jokes stopped right away, and everyone's focus was only on Pain. Before Zetsu explains the reason for this emergency gathering, you will state your current situation. Pain's question was first addressed by Kakuzu, who said, "We have infiltrated the Lightning Country and are in silent pursuit of our target. The Nibi Jinchuriki will be captured in short order." "Good. Deidara?" The long-haired blonde replied promptly, "We've confirmed the Sanbi is hostless. HN. Finding it will be difficult, but once we do even Toby should have no trouble catching it. HN. You make it sound as if these Jinchuriki are pretty strong," Toby replied. When Itachi finally said, "They can be if you are not prepared," he might as well play along with the masked one's game for the time being, since there was no point in raising suspicions among the other members just yet. Deidara continued, "It doesn't matter if it's a Jinchuriki or not, HN. Sasori." Dana learned that the hard way. Returning to the meeting, Pain questioned, "Itachi, what of your target?" The 9. Tails Jinchuriki remains heavily protected by his fellow villagers. Kisame and I are preparing to capture the 4. Tails in the meantime. Zetsu muttered, "Yes, the Kyubi," marking the end of his silence. "This brings us to why I requested this urgent meeting." "Is it really that important that it had to interrupt 3 hunts?" asked Kisame. Then he turned to look at the leader. "You said yourself that we must accelerate our plans in order to complete our objective as soon as possible." With a, "Yes, I did," Pain acknowledged. "But from what Zetsu has told me, there may be a new, wholly unanticipated factor that may require significant modifications to our plans." Deidara snarled, "So don't keep us in suspense further," asking, "What's going on?" In response, the less savage side of Zetsu said, "The Metal Country has fallen." Kakuzu and Kisame frowned, and Deidara and Conan gave a small gasp. The news made Itachi blink hard, too. Toby questioned, "Is that so bad?" He was doing a great job of concealing his surprise, Itachi observed. Hidan was the last to respond, and it was a typical reaction from him. "Bullshit," was his curse. In return, Conan glared at the alleged immortal. Zetsu shot back, his angry side saying, "You're suggesting I'm lying?" Hidan kept up his tirade. "The Metal Country may not have any shinobi, but between that huge wall around their island, which is in the middle of the damned ocean I might add, and all those weird anti-ninja gadgets they're supposed to have, it would take at least 2 of us to that. More if you want to be sure to win quickly." Itachi was astonished by what he was going to do. He agreed with the most irascible member of the group when he stated, Hidan's assertions are somewhat accurate despite his attitude. If the latest rumors about their research with chakra suppression devices are correct, it would require the hidden villages to send several Junin and covert operation squads into a long siege to defeat the Metal's forces. "You would think that," said Zetsu, "and the country's arsenal was not exaggerated. But regardless, its whole army, weaponry, and defenses fell in less than a day. Whichever country invaded must have poured everything it had," postulated Kisame. "Not everything," said Zetsu. At the idea of dropping another bombshell, his black half nearly smiled. 1 Junin, 2 Chunin, and 1 Genin. A single Konoha squad conquered the hidden steel. Hidan's booming cackle quickly broke the shock that had been in the chamber for only a few seconds. "Zetsu, whatever it is you're smoking, I want some, 'cause that must be some really good shit." "I'm not done yet," explained Zetsu. Of the 4, the Genin was the one truly responsible. "It was the Kyubi Jinchuriki, I take it. Did he lose control of the beast and let it run loose?" Itachi interrupted Hidan before he could ask any more questions about Zetsu's sanity, quoting what he assumed to be Zetsu's conclusion of his report. Not quite. On the happiest day, on the darkest night. Nothing bad will get past me. Let those who worship the power of evil watch out for my power. The light of the Green Lantern. Tt Ibeo. Even though Naruto had never said the words before, they came easily. However, the significance of them and the oath they established struck a deep chord with him, as though this solemn pledge were his own. But he was unable to think any longer because of the hidden steel soldiers beneath him. They all pointed their guns at Naruto and fired repeatedly, ignoring Sakura, Yamato, and Sai, who were equally astounded. Naruto just grinned, unlike a few minutes ago, even though his chakra hadn't returned yet. The ideal replacement was his power ring, as he somehow knew it was called. Naruto, now that he knew how to use it, let the bullets hit him and heightened the aura around him. Every single shot was easily repelled by the solid green light. Lieutenant Kisho told one of his charges, "It hasn't been 10 minutes yet, why isn't the energy nullifier working?" "It is," replied the younger officer. "He must be channeling some other sort of power." When Kisho turned around and saw that the Konoha ninja, now dressed in a tight green and black uniform, was literally floating right behind him, he jumped back and said, "You're right, I am. It's called guts." With their muskets drawn, Kisho and his officer took aim at their new foe at close range. Two human-sized green toads emerged from Naruto's ring just as they were ready to fire, stomping the two soldiers to the ground. He was about to gloat after landing in front of the defeated adversaries when he was struck by additional bullets from behind. The surprise made him jump a little, but fortunately, his barrier kept him safe. About 24 infantrymen were firing at Naruto when he turned around. He smiled and said, "I always wanted to try this, though." A giant paper fan was conjured by Naruto, who raised his fist and slammed it down in front of him. In addition to sending a strong gale that drove his assailants away, the fan rocked the atmosphere. The wind was so fierce that it ripped the soldiers' rifles apart and tore their armor. "Eat your heart out, Tamari." Abruptly, he heard, "Don't move, you're surrounded." He looked around and saw that he was surrounded by the remaining soldiers. Naruto asked, "So, you want to play, huh?" He straightened up and unsummoned the fan. "Hands up," was their command. Naruto raised his arms in response to his opponent's command, saying, "Okay, I'll play." He let them come slowly for a moment, and then he created a huge bubble around himself. The soldiers opened fire right away, but once more the construction of the power ring was impervious to their musket shots. Hehe, now for the Midoriro harem no jutsu. From the shield, thin light strips emerged, one for each of the soldiers surrounding Naruto. As soon as they reached their targets, each beam grew into a gorgeous, sexy, and nude woman who started taunting and caressing the officers in a seductive manner. In response, they dropped their weapons and stood there, bleeding profusely. Naruto was relieved that the constructs, not him or his shadow clones, were carrying out the actions this time. The soldiers were now helpless and unable to predict when Naruto would knee the Naruto constructs in the privates before uppercutting them. By the time they hit the ground again, all of the adversaries were unconscious. He asked his teammates, "You guys alright?" as he expelled the bubble and the Narukos. Yamato, Sakura, and Sai came up to him. All three of them simply nodded in agreement. "Naruto? Don't worry, Sakura-chan," he replied, removing the face mask to show his restored blue eyes and full face. "It's me." How did, it's this ring," he informed Yamato, his captain. To demonstrate his new tool, Naruto extended his hand palm down. "It's called a power ring, and it's the weapon of the Green Lantern Corps." Sai questioned him, "How do you know all this, and what is this Green Lantern Corps?" "Beats me," Naruto said with a shrug. "I think the ring's been teaching me things without me knowing. For now it's just words and terms, really. I still don't know where it came from or what these corps are." Sakura inquired, "What do you know about it? It could be dangerous." Naruto grinned proudly and said, "Nah, it's okay. It picked me to be a Green Lantern because I have great willpower." He made a copy of himself to demonstrate his point, and it morphed at random into other allies, ninja tools, and tiny buildings. It talked to me, and told me it could do anything I wanted it to do. The ominous whistle reappeared, interrupting his demonstration. Sakura said, "I hope it can stop the metal's arsenal," with caution. She knelt down, ready to leap away at any time, while Sai and Yamato braced themselves. "Piece of cake," chuckled Naruto. The shifting structure immediately expanded to the point where it split into a single line of elastic nets, with a big funnel at the end, directly above Team Kakashi. Each net slowed the projectiles, but the first batch was destroyed when the cannonballs struck. The final few managed to hold their ground and shoot the cannonballs into the funnel. 3 enormous replicas of the hidden steel soldiers were created inside the tube, one for each cannon fire the funnel captured. As he mimicked Lieutenant Kisho's voice, Naruto said, "All right, men," and the constructs complied. "We have sighted the enemy. They're a band of thick-headed warmongers who won't listen to reason. Aim for their big guns and take them out. Fire." 3 thunderous bangs soon echoed across the cliff. The cannons that had just been fired at Team Kakashi were destroyed when the cannonballs crashed into the dense walls of the hidden steel a short while later. Sakura, Sai, and Yamato marveled at the ring's powers as the soldier replicas vanished. Naruto was unable to suppress a smile. "See?" Yamato concurred, saying, "That's a very powerful weapon. We're lucky it's also immune to the hidden steel's anti-chakra device. We should head back to Konoha and report to Hokage Sama now that we've confirmed the existence of the weapon," Sai said. "Are you kidding?" sneered Naruto. He went on, showing off the green ring. "I said I was gonna bust it up, and that's what I intend to do. It'll be really easy now." "Sai is right, Naruto," rejoined Yamato. "Our mission was to investigate the metal and ascertain if the chakra suppression device existed. That's been confirmed, so it is up to her to decide what to do next." Naruto retorted, "But we may not have time for that." It took him a moment to realize that neither Yamato nor Sai had a response to his statement. When the Anbu found it, it stopped their chakra for 3 minutes, right? Now it's been, what, 7, 8 minutes? We still can't use chakra. In just a few days the weapon's gotten stronger, and if we wait more soon it'll be able to work forever, he said. Sakura said, "Naruto's right," and nodded to her companion. She cracked her knuckles and gave Naruto one of those looks that usually made him shiver. "If we follow Tsunade Sama's orders literally, she said, to find out a way to counter the weapon. And so on." Her final statement was, "I think Naruto just stumbled onto the perfect counter. Wouldn't you agree, Lantern.san?" She gave him a cheeky smile, which he promptly returned. "Very well," said Yamato. "But only as far as destroying the weapon. After that we return to Konoha." Sai asked the group, "First, how do you plan to enter the hidden steel?" To which Naruto replied, "I know just how to get there. Liberty." Other words, like soaring, laughing, rushing, or flying, were also used to describe their current state. However, no one could fully capture the emotion of simply wanting something and defying gravity to move across the sky. Naruto gave himself permission to fully enjoy this new power from the ring after jumping off the cliff and making his way to the metal country. He didn't fly straight in. Instead, he zigzagged through the rough rock face at the bottom of the drop, then raced quickly enough to leave wakes in his wake just above the seawater. He eventually arced and jutted straight up, frightening a group of seagulls. He marveled at the clear, reddening heavens as he passed directly through the afternoon clouds. Naruto exclaimed, "This is awesome," to the sky. It was not just magnificent, it was pure bliss. Oddly enough, Yamato even promoted this conduct. He had claimed that it would ensure Naruto's new Green Lantern abilities would be noticed by the hidden steel forces, further discouraging them. However, Naruto was aware that the captain was enjoying flying alone since he had also created a flight aura for the rest of the team using the ring. Sakura was equally enthralled, but she wasn't satisfied with merely observing Naruto's antics. Instead, she was dancing among the clouds and doing her own tricks. Sai alerted them, "We are approaching the country's perimeter." Naruto thought that he was the only one who appeared unfazed by flying, most likely because he had his ink birds to enable him to do so. "Playtime's over. Regroup and prepare to begin infiltration mission," Yamato instructed. The rest of the team immediately complied, gathered, and dove in. The arced wall that encircled the metal country was far bigger than any of the 4 initially believed when viewed up close. Team Kakashi was instantly inundated with gunfire as a thunderous chorus erupted from the walls. "Incoming," the 4 said, continuing to plunge through the lethal torrent. The concentration of ammunition was too dense to avoid as they drew closer to the wall, so Naruto had to make a big shield that the 4 could hide behind. Yamato shouted, "You have to take out those guns, Naruto," in an attempt to be heard over the noise. Sakura exclaimed, "Look," and gestured toward the interior of the wall, where the city itself was now visible. To seal the hidden steel, heavy metal plates started to slide out of the cordon itself at the top of the barrier. "Forget the guns, we have to rush in." A cannonball struck the ring, causing its shield to shatter. Naruto's defense was not as strong as it had been because he had not anticipated such a strong blow. The projectile succeeded in stunning him long enough to lose focus, dispel the shield, and eliminate everyone's flight aura, even though it was also destroyed in the process. Sakura, Sai, and Yamato fell to the ocean below, while Naruto recovered fast enough to regain his own power. Even worse, the metal started shooting again. Naruto threw his fist forward towards the metal country's barrier and poured a single thought into the power ring: destroy. No, he exclaimed, suddenly filled with rage. The reaction from the ring was instantaneous and unstoppable. A solitary ray of light erupted, subsequently detonating into a shower of lasers that hit each weapon concealed within the walls with incredible accuracy. As the hidden steel's defenses were instantly destroyed, smoke, fire, and debris erupted violently from every opening. Feeling content, Naruto jumped to capture his teammates. However, he was relieved to discover that Sai had used his own jutsu and called forth an ink hawk to capture the trio. Sakura yelled, "We're fine, Naruto," to him. "Our chakra's back." "It will only be a matter of time before they reactivate the weapon," Sai said. "We have to strike now." Snarling, "Leave that to me," Naruto said. He didn't feel like playing anymore. The revolving ceiling had completely sealed the city by now, but the new Green Lantern was unfazed. He threw a huge windmill shuriken at the top of the wall after pouring all of his willpower into the ring. The topmost portion of the wall was cut by the spinning blades, and it slipped off the rest and fell into the sea. The shuriken was then changed into a kunai by Naruto, who exclaimed, "I'm not done yet." This sliced the barrier in half. The true hidden steel village was no longer hidden after the kunai broke into two enormous hands and tore it open. Sakura muttered, "Naruto," as she gazed in wonder at the power ring of the Green Lantern. Naruto declared, "I'm going on ahead to destroy the weapon." "Wait, Naruto." The young genin left behind nothing but a green trail of light that led directly into the center of the metal country before Yamato was done. The interior of the hidden steel was a sea of concrete, asphalt, and bare earth, much like the land's namesake. Small areas of more fertile soil, the only source of agriculture in the tiny country, were dotted around the artificial homes. The hidden steel's internal defenses were disorganized, in stark contrast to the well-organized resistance outside. Between fleeing, directing terrified civilians to safe havens, and retaliating against the new enemy's incursion, officers and infantrymen were lost. All they could do was fire at random and give vacuous orders to stop. Unwilling to take the chance of hurting the non-combatants, they decided not to use any more powerful weapons they might have had against the Green Lantern. Naruto ignored all of these warnings and continued flying directly into the center of the metal. Naruto remarked to himself, "I just need to find that anti-chakra device." When a complete picture of the nation emerged just above the ring's surface, he was not overly shocked. He examined it and discovered that the island contained several subterranean chambers. One of these rooms featured a pulsing, glowing circle that was undoubtedly a beacon that the power ring used to indicate where the weapon was. The Green Lantern symbol, which displayed Naruto's coordinates in relation to the rest of the village, was located above it in the graph. He remarked, "There you are." He threw away the map, made a big drill, and plunged right in. The light borer dug deep into the ground, scattering rock, gravel, and dirt, and the few soldiers who were still firing at him in the street crossing below hurried away. The first sign that Naruto had entered the weapon chamber was the abrupt blaring of warning klaxons. The majority wore coats more akin to those of medical personnel and were not armed. However, based on what these individuals were carrying in their surroundings, it was clear that the facility was not a hospital or rehabilitation center. Directly in front of Naruto was a big, round machine with dozens of knobs, wheels, and maintenance consoles that was connected to many other gadgets strewn all over the room. "So this is it? Stop him." A small platoon of soldiers rushed towards Naruto as a large gateway to his right slowly opened. He had seen muskets like that before, but they were sleeker. One of the technicians shouted, "No, don't shoot inside the chamber." Naruto raised another shield to defend himself, but the soldiers ignored him and shot him. He and his construct were unharmed by the bullets as before, but the ricochet repeatedly hit the weapon, causing breaches in the device's round body, severing cables, and damaging consoles. As the warning klaxons grew louder, a sickly brown steam poured from the weapon that had been damaged. Naruto asked the same scientist, "What's happening?" The lantern added, "Okay, so I'm the enemy here, but I'm not here to hurt you, just this thing," when he was hesitant to respond. "It's overloading," replied the technician. "It's going to explode." "How bad?" He returned, thinking of extending the shield to shield the weapon from further harm. "Very," was all that was said. "Figures," said Naruto. He threw the shield at his assailants in a single motion, knocking them back long enough for him to envelop the entire weapon in a green bubble. He dragged the smoking device behind him as he flew up through the same hole he had used to enter the chamber once it was completely sealed inside. The damaged weapon began to shrill in an unnatural way. The metal bulkhead was beginning to glow from the heat inside, as Naruto could see when he looked down. Gotta hurry. He stepped out into the open and continued to fly faster and faster. When he did, he pushed the bubble and the rapidly decaying sphere inside it higher and higher until he could see nothing but the ring's beam. As if a second sun were shining at noon, the afternoon sky burst into light at that very moment. Naruto and the rest of the nation were soon rocked by a loud, thunderous shockwave. The blast caused Naruto to lose focus, which led to him losing control of the Green Lantern ring and falling. He fell onto the plush back of Sai's Inkhawk rather than the hard concrete. "Got you!" exclaimed Yamato. While checking Naruto's head and chest with her other hand, Sakura instantly put her arm around his back and held him up. Telling the others, "He's fine, how do you feel?" she asked, turning to face her teammate. With a smile, Naruto gave her the thumbs up and declared, "Mission accomplished." The nation gave up to Team Kakashi shortly after that, Zetsu concluded. His account of the events was not interrupted by any of the other members, unlike initially. The first to respond was Kakuzu, who said, "Tell us more about this ring." "There is not much else to add," Zetsu gave in response. "At first, like the metal, I thought it was a new weapon Konoha had developed. But from the Konoha Nin's conversation, I can say that they were as perplexed about its nature as their opponents were. It appears this ring is sentient to a certain extent, and it was the ring itself that chose to bond with the Kyuubi Jinchuriki." The frown said, "Because he has guts? Give me a break?" Itachi cut him off. "It is not merely guts, as you say. From my observations, Uzumaki Naruto is a steadfast, if unpredictable, individual that does not compromise his lofty ideals, however utopian they might be, and will not hesitate to fight against any odds for those beliefs. Perhaps it is these qualities this power ring seeks in its bearers." The leader remarked, "Deidara, you've also met the Kyuubi before. Do you agree with Itachi's assessment?" "Yeah," said Deidara. He clutched one of his mended arms. Itachi observed. "He may be a hot-headed brat, but his determination is unquestionable." Kisame crossed his arms and remarked, "So now one of our targets has a weapon that allows him to do anything he wants by just thinking about it." With a playful taunt, Tobi asked, "Having cold feet?" "Tobi," snarled Kisame. He later said, Sorry, Toba's a good boy." Itachi thought, "Interesting acting. I just meant that the 9 Tails is still your target, right?" Pain told the two, "Itachi, Kisame, I want you to put off your search for the 4 Tails for the time being. You will instead head back to the Leaf and learn as much as you can about this so-called Green Lantern. Do not engage him unless you have acquired enough information to succeed in the capture. Report back with any results." "Agreed," said Itachi. "Remember, your primary objective for now is intelligence," Pain stated. "If Uzumaki Naruto was able to take down an entire country by himself as a Green Lantern, we must proceed carefully in order to properly secure him." He then stated, "For now, the rest of you will continue with your current assignments, but be ready to be called again at any moment." "So many damned gatherings," moaned Hidan. Deidara said, "What are you mumbling about, HN? At least you joined by choice," he continued, casting a scathing look at Itachi. The single torch went out when the last one was gone, and the tiny cave was engulfed in darkness as the 9 pictures of the Akatsuki flickered and vanished. "This meeting is adjourned." Kisame said, "You seem troubled," to his partner. They had just returned to their bodies from the meeting and left for Konoha a few minutes earlier. Even though night had fallen, they were still searching for a place to spend the night. Itachi had remained silent during that period. "Not at all," lied Itachi. If you say so." Kisame shrugged his shoulders. Though he wouldn't ask for more details, Itachi knew Kisame well enough to know that he didn't believe him. "This clearing looks good enough. I'll be right back." "Where are you going?" Kisame turned and vanished into the jungle, leaving Itachi to ponder. Men's room. Kisame wasn't entirely incorrect. Itachi was worried, but not disturbed. With the help of this Green Lantern ring, a Konoha ninja, their Jinchuriki, no less, had gained what seemed to be powerful abilities that, in some ways, were even more potent than those of the cages. Even he was not entirely capable of releasing any form of jutsu with a single thought. However, the primary issue was not that Uzumaki Naruto acquired the power ring, it was Akatsuki instead. Itachi was aware that everyone else in the group was equally worried about the Green Lantern as he was, if not more so because, in contrast to him, their actual objective involved capturing Naruto. That goal seemed like a means to an end to him. It was a guarantee from Pain and Tobi that Konoha would be protected from their schemes. However, the Akatsuki leadership would not accept Uzumaki's new Green Lantern skills and, worse, would try to create their own. He had no reason to believe that the others had given any thought to the possibility that these new abilities would actually endanger them. It became clear that Akatsuki was not the unbeatable force it claimed to be after Sasori was killed by one of Uzumaki Naruto's teammates, no less, and that even less skilled ninjas could defeat the odds in the correct situation. What the Jinchuriki might do to Akatsuki was impossible to predict if he were to master these new abilities. For the time being, he would follow the leader's instructions, but he would soon need to change his own plans. He said, "Show yourselves," aloud. A few yards away, 3 men stepped out from behind a stand of trees. Itachi deduced that these were the villagers from the town where he and Kisame had previously eaten based on their simple attire and workshop implements that looked like weapons. They were all trembling in their boots, one middle-aged, the other 2 younger. He was not threatened by them. "Explain your presence here." The oldest man said, "I knew I recognized those eyes," alluding to Itachi's Sharingan. To his credit, unlike his arms, his voice remained steady. "You are Uchiha Itachi." "I am," he answered. One of the younger ones remarked, "We can't let you threaten our village. We know about you." This one sounded scared, in contrast to his senior. "What you allow or not does not concern me," Itachi replied. "Besides, you are no threat to me." Their leader said, "We know," and stepped forward. Though none of the 3 could see past the big neck cover of his Akatsuki robes, Itachi briefly grinned beneath his cloak and said, "And yet here you are." It's an interesting coincidence that he was thinking about Uzumaki Naruto when these 3 appeared. He questioned whether optimism was spreading. In the war-torn world in which they all lived, that would be novel. It's not often that I see those that face fear. For that, I will say that we do not intend to threaten your village. But it would be annoying if others found out of my presence here. If you forget you saw me, I may spare you. The older man remained motionless while the 2 younger men exchanged suspicious looks. Itachi's eyes narrowed. "The line between bravery and stupidity is very thin," he stated. With his Sharingan activated, he focused his vision and said, "And you are still afraid. But you don't know true fear." The men were already in his Genjutsu when they tensed up. The voice that emanated, however, was not Itachi's own. "No fear." Itachi noticed a dim light. He noticed a dancing amber glow when he looked to his side. After a while, a different voice interrupted, asking, "And what do we have here?" When Kisame returned, the 3 men were fainting from Itachi's delusion. Itachi turned away from Kisame and them. Itachi remarked, "Would be ye heroes from the nearby town, nothing to bother yourself with." Approaching one of them, Kisame kicked him weakly in the ribs. "You didn't kill them?" "No need to." Kisame stated, "They couldn't have come here of their own accord," while removing Samahada's sheath. Kisame looked back at Itachi incredulously and said, "Let them be, Kisame. They've learned their lesson." "Since when did you become merciful?" "They've seen what I am capable of," commented Itachi. "Once they inform the others, fear will keep them from pestering us further. If you want fear, we can kill them and mutilate their corpses. That'll really scare the rest." "That would bring unnecessary attention to our presence, and to Akatsuki," Itachi replied. "Don't worry," Kisame said after dismissing him. He laughed as he concluded, "I won't leave too much evidence. I'll even make it quick and painless if it makes you feel better." With his back to his partner, Kisame used one hand to lift his heavy sword above his head. Itachi said gravely, "I'm sorry, Kisame, for what it's worth." Kisame was too busy to finish, so he said, "Sorry for WH." A dazzling golden light struck him with enough force to send him flying just as he turned to face Itachi. The blast engulfed him, and every part of his body ached. Even though Kisame was extremely strong, the force of whatever had hit him overpowered him. He landed hard on the ground far away from the frightened villagers, but the light kept hitting him until he was sprawled against the ground that the impact had heaved him up against. Samahada was lying by his side, its covers torn to shreds, many of its scales broken off by whatever had also broken him. Itachi was the last thing he saw, standing taller than him, his normally red Sharingan now glowing yellow, and a bright amber glow coming from his middle finger, which was next to his Akatsuki ring. Kisame heard a stoic voice speak just as the darkness swept him away. "Uchiha Itachi of Sector 2814. You have the ability to instill great fear." "Indeed," Itachi said with an unusual smile, "yes, I do. Welcome to the Sinestro Corps. Uzumaki Naruto is my name. I considered myself a genin from the Fire Country's Hidden Leaf Village until yesterday. I can say that today, along with something else. I'm Uzumaki Naruto, and I serve as a Green Lantern Corps officer. Sector 2814 of space. What on earth does that last part mean? In any case, Team Kakashi brought back to Konoha the news of the destruction of the Chakra weapon following my successful debut in the Metal Country infiltration mission. It was completed in record time as well. Rather than taking 2 days as it would have in the traditional manner, we returned just before dusk. Tsunade.no. Bachan will probably be pleased with my achievement. And the 5th Hokage roared, "You did what? But I thought you said." Tsunade interrupted him, saying, "I know what I said, Naruto. The mission was to infiltrate the metal covertly and then, only then, neutralize the weapon. I never said anything about forcing their surrender." "With all due respect, Hokage Sama," Yamato responded, "we did not ask their surrender. As we said, they attacked us first on Fire Country soil. Naruto would have been killed if he hadn't unlocked the power of the Green Lantern Ring. He then proceeded to destroy their anti-chakra weapon as an interpretation of your instructions once a suitable counter to it was found. They surrendered out of fear of the power ring, as well as their own weapon. Their science division testified that the device was highly unstable to begin with," Sai said. "In a way, Naruto saved them from a potential disaster." "That's awfully convenient. But I doubt their leaders saw it that way," Tsunade responded. With a sigh, she returned to her chair. "This is going to be a pain. Shizune." "Yes." After Shizune finished writing the Hokage's order into a scroll, he nodded and hurried out of the room. "Send a message to the capital informing them of the situation and send our finest diplomats to the Hidden Steel. Tell them Konoha is willing to help with any rebuilding efforts they allow and will send supplies if they wish. Let's hope they're willing to listen, like Sanagakure did 3 years ago," Sakura thought. "So do I, Sakura," explained her instructor. "Now, as for you, Naruto." "Here it comes." Naruto crossed his arms and sneered. "If I may, Hokage Sama," Yamato said, standing as erect as he could, "I accept full responsibility for the consequences of my decision. It was my choice to proceed with the mission in spite of our discovery." Tsunade gave him a quick glance before dismissively raising her arm in front of him. She continued, shifting her attention to the blonde genin, "I'd like to know more about your new abilities, Naruto." "That won't be a problem for the moment, Captain. We'll wait for the results of our olive branch to the metal first." Naruto relaxed and smiled at this. With a thought, he switched from his orange jumpsuit to the Green Lantern outfit and lifted his fist. He remarked, "I'm still checking my limits," he continued, floating softly a few inches above the ground. "I can make anything I imagine, create a light shield around myself, and oh yeah, I can fly." Tsunade remained silent for a while. Her only comment upon Naruto's landing was, "Impressive. Tomorrow I'll be testing it out some more," he said, implying that it was late at night. A knock on the door coincided with the statement, "Before you do, there's someone else that should examine the ring. They should be here shortly." The Tsunade commanded, "Enter." 3 young ninjas and their team leader emerged as the door to the Hokage's office opened. 2 of them were dressed in tight green jumpsuits and standard ninja jackets, while the other 2 wore looser white robes. "Reporting as ordered, Hokage Sama," Hyuga Neji emitted. Tenten came in behind him, followed by Rock Lee and Maeda Gai, their teacher. Tsunade remarked, "Thank you for coming on this short notice, I called for you too." "Woo-ooh." Lee's sudden outburst made everyone shudder. The expert in taijutsu hurried over to seize Naruto by the shoulders. "Naruto-kun, this is amazing. This suit is brimming with manly strength, so streamlined and form-fitting, with such contrasting yet meshing designs, it's perfect to bring out the power of youth." Naruto bemoaned to Lee, who was fixated on the Green Lantern uniform, prodding and scrutinizing its colors, shape, and logo. "Hey, stop, quit it," he said. With a blaze of enthusiasm, Lee went on, "Whoa, your burning aura is brilliant, Naruto-kun. Real men like us must quell our feverish might in combat. Fight me, Naruto-kun. Let our souls burn bright in the heat of battle. Are you ready? Here I." Dynamic entry. Guy interrupted Lee with a quick, if wildly dramatic, kick to the younger Chunin's face, sending him flying headlong into Tsunade's desk. Lee rubbed his cheek and said, "Guy, sensei, why?" "Lee, it is good that the power of youth bristles within you, but it must be tempered with discipline. There is a time and place for training with comrades." "Yes, sir, and Naruto-kun," Guy said, turning to face the younger ninja, who backed off cautiously. After saying, "I'm glad you followed my advice. With this suit, your power will truly rise beyond its limits." He gave Naruto a hearty thumbs up and smiled his famously bright smile. "Well, at least he got the power-up part right," Naruto stated in a low voice. Lee added, "Amazing, Guy. Sensei." Guy turned to face his favorite student, and they made eye contact. "Lee. Guy. Sensei. Lee. Guy, sensei. Before Naruto knew it, he was crushed between Guy and Lee, who embraced tightly and let out happy tears. In contrast to them, the pain radiating from his ribs was devoid of joy. Neji mouthed, "Somebody kill me." Tenten, beside him, grimaced in complete humiliation. The other ninjas in the group started to perspire. The voice of Naruto said, "Let me go." Simultaneously, he called forth two tendrils that resembled ropes from the power ring, wrapped them around Guy and Lee, and used them to break the two from their suffocating embrace. "What's wrong with you? You want to kill me or something?" he shouted. Guy and Lee had no response for him. Everyone on Team Guy looked in shock. Tenten wanted to know, "Naruto, how?" Tsunade clarified, "This is why the mission was abruptly cancelled. Naruto has come into the possession of a very powerful weapon that allowed Team Kakashi to destroy the anti-chakra device the metal had developed." Lee inquired, "How did he get it?" Naruto responded, "Long story," as he dispelled the green cables and put Lee and Guy down. "The ring just came to me, saying I was fearless. It lets me create anything I can imagine out of solid green light." "How is light solid?" "I was hoping you could help answer that," Neji, the Hokage, replied. "I suspect the ring projects some sort of energy and manipulates it into whatever shape Naruto wishes. I want you to confirm that with your Byakugan, and determine the nature of the ring's power if you can." "Understood," Neji said with a nod. When the lantern complied, he made a quick hand seal and exclaimed, "Byakugan." Neji's white eyes took on the appearance of a pupil, and the veins and arteries in his temples widened. "Naruto, recreate the ropes you conjured." The Hyuga prodigy carefully examined the green energy, concentrating his bloodline limit ability on Naruto and his ring. "Interesting," Neji finally said. "Naruto, can you change the shape of your construct?" "Will do," he answered eagerly and rapidly. The tendrils came together with a thought, forming a huge bowl of ramen. Yamato smiled and said, "You're certainly enjoying yourself, aren't you?" "Well, Neji? I cannot be certain, Hokage." "Sama," Neji responded, "but it appears the ring is channeling massive amounts of energy. The power flows out from the ring itself and coalesces into the shapes Naruto wishes to build. It then folds back into the ring itself and dissipates." Sakura asked, "To where?" "I am unable to say. But that's not all. The nature of the ring's energy is strikingly similar to chakra." There was an uneasy shift in the room after Neji's final revelation. "So the ring is some other kind of chakra weapon?" replied Sai. "As I said, it's not exactly chakra. It's much more compressed, tightly controlled and uniform. Not to mention, it's green, unlike regular blue chakra. However, its composition feels familiar." "Who or what could have designed such a powerful artifact?" replied Guy. "Except for the tailed beasts, I've never seen any device able to manipulate chakra or the like with such detail." "I agree," said Yamato. "None of the countries have the technological capacity for creating something that can also grant limited abilities to others, like Naruto did to the rest of us during the mission. Unless," Sakura said in a worried tone, "the power ring is really just like Sasori of the Akatsuki. If it has its own consciousness. Well, it can talk, but not like a real person anyway." Naruto came in between. "It can talk too?" was Tsunade's first question. "Then I have some questions for it." Dispelling the ramen bowl, Naruto raised his closed fist to face level and said, "I think it only talks to me. Tsunade.no. Bachan. I'll ask it. Hey, Ring, you there?" The Hokage's chambers were filled with a firm but emotionless voice that said, "Affirmative." Naruto questioned it. "Who built you?" Error. Partial memory core corruption. Unable to process request. It was earned by the ring's response, and Naruto received some curious looks from his friends. Sakura questioned, "Memory? Like a computer?" Naruto grumbled, "I thought you could do anything. Ring. What error? What happened?" Bleed contamination resulting from violent ejection from the 52. There were more inquisitive looks. "You're not making any sense, Ring. What's this about bleeding, and what's this 50.2 of?" Error. Partial memory core corruption. Unable to process request. After the third miss of the ring, Tsunade sneered, "Damn it, you broken record, how partially are you corrupted?" When the ring failed to respond to the Hokage's query, Naruto commanded it. "What she said," he said. 87% memory banks fragmentation estimated. Construct. Generation systems intact. Is there any way to reverse the corruption? Self-regeneration protocol working at 41% efficiency. Expected completion. 2 months, 8 days, 5 hours, 5 minutes, 20.1 seconds, 94 milliseconds. Tenten pondered, "Well, that's a no-go. Are there any alternatives?" Ring. Await contact from Administrator Green Lantern Salak. Who's Salak? Error. Partial memory core corruption. Biographical records are retrievable. Processing image data. The ring projected a three-dimensional image of Salak into an empty office space when Naruto pointed it in that direction. When the ring completed rendering the image, Naruto and the others gasped, expecting someone else. The only resemblance to humans was that Salak had two legs. The administrator of the Green Lantern had a hairless crested head, a pointed chin with two spikes on either side, 4 arms, and no visible mouth. Sakura questioned, "That's Salak. What is he?" The ring apparently realized that everyone in the room was questioning it by this point because it responded to Sakura without waiting for Naruto's order. Sligian. Meaning? Asked Yamato. Error. Partial memory core corruption, unable to process request. How convenient, thought Sai. Naruto would have been shocked to hear what seemed to be Sai's attempt at humor if it weren't for the gravity of the situation. Looks like we're not going to get much more information out of the ring until it finishes its repairs, Neji stated. Tsunade said, I have one last question, as she got up from her desk and went to Naruto. What is the Green Lantern Corps, and what are its intentions? Partial response possible. Green Lantern Corps, oldest military institution. Current membership, 5,384. Primary mission. Protection of the innocent. Maintain order. Weapon. Power ring. And you chose Naruto because he is fearless? Uzumaki Naruto has the ability to overcome great fear. I'll take that as a yes, responded the Hokage. Then she turned around and returned to her desk. What do you want to do, Hokage? Sama? Guy questioned the Konoha leader. Tsunade closed her eyes and folded her hands together instead of responding right away. While she was thinking, no one talked. She said, very well, at last. Naruto, why? Yes. He tensed, fearing her tone would imply that he would have to give up his new prize. Until the ring has finished its repairs, I'll allow you to keep it and use it as necessary. Relay any new information you learn about its powers or the rest of the Corps immediately. If another lantern, especially this Salak, makes contact, you will report back here at once. Furthermore, notwithstanding your new duties to these Corps, you are first and foremost a Konoha ninja, and thus answer to me. Understood? Naruto smiled and nodded. He had no reason to be afraid. His new abilities would still be available to him. And also, given the current circumstances regarding the Metal Country, nobody outside this room can find out your identity while using the weapon. No sweat. Naruto exclaimed, pulling out the face mask and covering his eyes with it. Tora. Chan, bad kitty. Get back here, Tora. Chan. The wife of the daimyo of the Fire Country, Madame Shijimi, unsuccessfully pursued her brown cat. Tora's numerous escape attempts had kept her at her near physical peak, in contrast to her obese owner. The cat moved gracefully between people's legs, beneath benches, and through shrubs, while the plump noble ran clumsily, running into other villagers and swinging her arms back and forth to catch anything that fell from her coat, blouse, or purse. Tora. Chan. Come back to mommy. Madame Shijimi called out to Tora, but Tora ignored her and ran even faster. She ran beneath a young man who was carrying a number of heavy boxes, nearly tripping him. While Madame Shijimi's fat body continued to pursue Tora, she collided with the same employee and sent him sprawling. Tora, however, had no plans to go back. The cat sprinted up a big tree, sprinted across a branch, and leapt into the closest rooftop using her accumulated speed. No, Tora. Chan, bad kitty, come down right now. Despite Madame Shijimi's entreaties, Tora persisted in her sprint across Konoha's building roofs. The noble trailed from the ground, but her physical ineptitude was already causing her to perspire and pant profusely. A big fence that blocked access to the area beyond the next building finally gave Tora a sense of freedom. She leapt high and far to her freedom with joy. No. Sobbed Madame Shijimi. Tora. Chan, she exclaimed, gesturing to the flying feline. The noble's cries went unheard by the former pet. Tora gave a long, happy meow. Coincidentally, the red ribbon on her left ear came loose, signifying her freedom. She could see lovely sparkles in the air around her and almost hear the sound of angelic trumpets. One tear trickled into her whiskers from her eyes. Never has the green sky looked so. Tora halted. A green sky? The green road? Is everything green? It was only then that she realized she was motionless. She was trapped in some kind of emerald orb, floating above the road. A man's voice said, I think you dropped this, behind her. The familiar sensation of wearing her ribbon returned when she felt a tiny pressure on her ear. With some effort, she looked around before spotting a green uniformed teen floating and holding a beam of light in his closed right hand. Although the boy wore a tiny mask, the hair. Tora's simple mind shouted, him. He was the one. She immediately recognized her captor, even though it had been nearly 3 years. She knew he was the ninja who had captured her the first time she had escaped, no matter how he was floating and encasing her in light. Naruto told the runaway cat, you shouldn't run away like that. You'd hurt the people that care about you. Naruto went down toward Madame Shijimi, who was shocked, and a small group of people who were gathered around him. Due to the barrier enclosing her, Tora occasionally swiped her claws at Naruto in vain while thrashing and hissing. As soon as her captor released her and her owner glomped her, the cat's desperation turned to horror. While giving her pet a tight hug, the madam exclaimed, Tora-chan, you had mommy so worried. Instead, Tora meowed sadly as her owner crushed her in his arms. Whoever you are, thank you for bringing my Tora-chan back. To which Naruto replied, just doing my job, ma'am. He was asked by strangers in the crowd, are you some new kind of ninja? What's your name? Naruto stopped himself before his true name was revealed. I'm Ooze. He nearly disregarded Tsunade's directive to keep his identity a secret because he was so excited about using his new abilities freely once more. Instead, he answered, controlling his excitement. I'm the Green Lantern, Konoha's newest hero. Green Lantern, looks cool, how'd he do that, he's cute, he heard some of the mutterings from the audience. Madame Shijimi took his hand and gave it a vigorous shake, saying, oh, thank you so much, dear. Tora fought in vain to escape her weakened hold. Then she reached into her purse and said, here, let me get you something for your trouble. Naruto replied, that's okay, and raised his ring hand to her, I don't really need. The obese woman pushed several bills to his open hand and interrupted, saying, please, dear, I insist. A few villagers nodded in agreement. After all, you saved me the trouble of having to hire the ninja's services. They're really expensive these days, you know. Oh, don't get me wrong, dear, Madame Shijimi continued, they're good at what they do. But they're still charging so much even after the reconstruction finished, even for simple missions. Why, the other day they charged me 500 ryu for just retrieving Tora-chan again, but they were using kids for the mission. They said one of the children was the late Hokage's grandson, but still. Naruto wasn't paying attention as the daimyo's wife continued to babble. Instead, he was trying to keep the ring from sparking while maintaining a straight face. He had to use all his self-control not to use it on her. I gotta get going now, he told her, smiling artificially. Oh, of course, Mr. Green Lantern, she said in closing. Her cat hissed in response, more people to help out of the kindness of your heart like me and my Tora-chan. Thank you again for your help. Naruto said, no problem, and began to float away. He glanced behind him and waved to the amazed audience. The rest of the group, including Madame Shijimi, enthusiastically waved back at him. With the exception of Tora, who bared her teeth and gave the Green Lantern a vile glare. Naruto continued his aerial patrol of Konoha for the remainder of the morning. It took more work to learn how to fly completely under control. It was like learning to walk again, but he was improving gradually. He jumped right in to fix whatever situation he had come across when he saw someone in need. Within a few hours, he had literally caught a shoplifter, constructed 5 new emergency shelters with specially designed tools, put out a fire by dumping a water tank on it, located a missing baby using the ring's detailed scans, and assisted an elderly woman with her groceries. He even got a free meal by delivering new supplies to Ichiraku Ramen. A little too eagerly, Naruto accepted the offer, and Tucci nearly guessed who he was. Everywhere he flew, the locals, some a little scared, pointed up to him and the green light trail he left behind in wonder. However, word of his actions spread quickly, and by the early afternoon, the populace was supporting him. Telling himself, I could get used to this, Naruto gestured to a group of kids pointing at him from the ground. On the opposite side of town, a woman had gone into labor, and he was hurrying them to the hospital. Naruto darted through the doors without bothering to land as the 3 swiftly arrived. Incoming. Soon. Be. Mom coming through. He shouted. While some nurses were taken aback by the surprise, others collected themselves and brought a wheelchair for the expectant mother. After giving her a gentle seat, Naruto landed her husband. The woman said, we can't thank you enough, Green Lantern, as she moaned and took deep breaths. Nah, it's nothing, replied Naruto. The husband said, you'll have to tell us your name later, as he accompanied his wife and the nurse into the emergency department. We'd very much like to name our boy after you. The request from the man caused Naruto to flush intensely. He stammered, you, me, I mean, but the happy couple had already left by the time he could speak clearly. "So you're the new hero that's upstaging us ninjas all across the village," a person said. The speaker was just entering the main lobby when Naruto turned to face him. Naruto blurted out, "Kakashi, sensei," without thinking. "Yo," the copy ninja said, giving Naruto his customary straightforward greeting. "So it's just like Tenzo said." Naruto took a deep breath. "So you're in the know?" With a nod, Kakashi said, "It's not too difficult to figure out, not too many have spiky blonde hair and whiskers on their face, Naru." Naruto whispered, "Shush. It's a secret," to his teacher. In a whisper, he approached him and said, "Tsunade.no. Bachan asked me not to let anyone else know." Kakashi said, sorry, and waved him away with both hands. "You still need to tell me the whole story." Naruto said, "Sure, but not here," as he looked around. The patients and nurses were all staring at them and talking, of course. "I know exactly where it is," Kakashi said. After a few minutes, Naruto and Kakashi sat atop the Hokage monument and gazed over Konoha. The majority of the conversation was by Naruto, who told the former Anbu Junin how he obtained the power ring and how he had been using it since the previous day. Naruto did his best to respond to Kakashi's questions when he interrupted a few times. Kakashi remarked, "Looks like you won't need the super special training I was going to give you," following Naruto's completion of the entire narrative. Naruto joked, "Hey, so I've already surpassed you, Kakashi, sensei?" Kakashi got up and turned to face Naruto, saying, "In a way, at least you'd be a very different type of opponent to fight." Kakashi questioned, "So what will you do now?" Looking at his teacher, the genin questioned, "Do what now? I mean, what do you plan to do with these new abilities?" Naruto gave his head a scratch. With a more determined expression, he turned back to Kakashi and added, "At least, once I really get the hang of this ring, I'll bring back Sasuke even if I have to beat some sense into him first. And while I'm at it, I'll beat up Orochimaru." He made a little comical construct of him standing triumphantly over the vanquished Sannin. "Huh. To be honest, I hadn't thought about it too much," he emphasized, punching his palm, "and if Akatsuki comes after me, then POW. Instead, becoming Hokage would be just a step away." In a tone that did not match Naruto's excitement, Kakashi remarked, "Just like that, huh? You don't think I can do it?" He responded, speculating about Kakashi's innermost feelings. "Not like that," denied Kakashi. "But just because you got a great power doesn't mean you're invincible. You yourself have accomplished that before, remember?" "You mean that Akatsuki bomb guy?" Kakashi said, "He's a good example," and nodded. "The same one that defeated Gaara-kun, whom you also defeated years ago. While he still had Shukaku, I should add." Gaara. The Chunin exam brought back memories of how he had rescued Sakura and the rest of Konoha by stopping the enormous sand badger Ichibi with the aid of the great toad Gamabunta. Gaara returned to his homeland a different person as a result of that loss, and he went on to become Sanagakure's cage. Still, that was then. I mean, with the power ring, I was able to hold off a whole country. The Junin retorted, "So did Sasori, and Shio. Sama and Sakura killed him." With nothing to say, Naruto scowled instead of opening his mouth to protest. Kakashi crossed his legs and sat down again. At last, the lantern said, "So you're saying I should just stop using the ring?" "On the contrary. Don't take this the wrong way, Naruto. I think the ring made its own decision to choose you, and only you, out of every other person in this world, to bear its powers. That should tell you something. But as your sensei, it's my responsibility to make sure you understand that power alone is not enough." When Naruto confronted Kakashi directly, he continued, "You've never fought in an actual war. Suna and Otogakure's attack was a minor skirmish in comparison. I remember that time. Even the toughest ninjas fell back then. Hyugas. Iwa.nin. Uchihas." Naruto wondered momentarily why Kakashi paused after mentioning Sasuke's the clan. Kakashi remarked, "Even the best of us have a weakness. A powerful jutsu is worthless if it leaves you open during or after using it. Keep this in mind when you're using these new powers," as Naruto scrutinized the Green Lantern ring once more. "No weapon is perfect. Be mindful of its weaknesses, and work around them to accomplish your objectives." Naruto posed the rhetorical question, "But what kind of weakness would a ring that can do anything have?" "Eventually you'll find out," said Kakashi, "hopefully not at the worst time." Naruto laughed. Kakashi nodded and said, "On that I definitely agree." He said, "We can continue later. Looks like we have a visitor," as he turned to look toward the library at the top of the mountain. Perceptive as ever, Kakashi. "Taiko," a voice from out of sight said, wherever Kakashi was facing. Naruto turned to see an Anbu in a crouch wearing a mask shaped like a bird. The former Anbu questioned his junior, "You have something to report?" The spy replied, "Actually, my business is with your companion," while glancing at Naruto. The latter got to his feet and turned to the newcomer. "So you are this Green Lantern the villagers are gossiping about? I thought you'd be taller." Naruto retorted angrily, "And I thought you'd be sneakier instead of being caught so easily." The Anbu sweat dropped with Kakashi. "Regardless, it is fortunate you were with Kakashi. Taiko. I expected to have more trouble finding you," he stated. He retrieved a scroll from his pocket and threw it to Naruto, who caught it with a bubble construct. "Hokage. Sama asks for your help in a mission she believes will be adequately suited for your unique skills." Naruto presented him with the scroll, opened it, and perused its contents. "You want me to clean up the Forest of Death?" The Anbu clarified, "Hokage. Sama wants you to cull it. The hazardous flora and fauna population has increased to unacceptable levels. We lost too many teams in the last Chunin exams, and to properly correct the problem would require more shinobi than we can currently spare." Naruto grinned at the chance. He would undoubtedly demonstrate to everyone that he was more than likely to retain the power ring permanently if he completed the mission by himself when it would typically require several squads. He might even catch the other members of the corp's attention and learn more about them and the ring's nature if he was lucky. He declared, "I'll get it done quickly and without delay." "Very well. I shall inform Hokage Sama of your acceptance," said the Anbu. "Kakashi. Taiko, always an honor." "Yeah," admitted Kakashi. Then the Anbu leapt back toward the roof of the library. The elite ninja disappeared, leaving the rookie Green Lantern laughing and his sensei perplexed. "One last thing, Lantern," the Anbu said, turning to face Naruto. "Thanks for helping my Nana with her food shopping." Naruto cried, "Time to go to work." Instead, he floated a little after jumping off the mountain. "Remember what I told you, Naruto," Kakashi pronounced. "The ring should be one more tool in your whole arsenal. Don't forget what you've learned as a shinobi." Naruto then sped off in a blazing trail of light, leaving Kakashi by himself with his thoughts. "Calm down, Kakashi. Sensei. I'll be fine. Sensei. I hope you're proud of your legacy." "I am." Kakashi addressed the effigy directly beneath him. Naruto reached the Forest of Death's entrance a few minutes later. The region, officially known as the 44th Battle Training Zone, had gained its moniker from the numerous enormous animals and deadly plants that frequently killed the unfit genin in the Chunin exams. He could see the distant tower in the middle of the forest from where he was floating. Before taking off into the dense trees, he screamed, "Right, here I go. Those beasts better beware my power. Green Lantern's light." The interior was dimmed in a faint twilight because the dense canopy blocked most of the sunlight. The abrupt shift was a little startling. "Okay, first I'll hunt some bugs." Naruto wandered aimlessly through the forest, looking for any enormous insects that might be present. He mostly relied on his vision, though occasionally he looked at more obscure places with the ring. As the minutes passed, he had not discovered any insects, not even those of the typical size. Asking aloud, "What's going on here?" he landed and lowered his aura to test his theory, saying, "Maybe if I pose as prey." He shouted, "Hey, over here. Dinner's on me." He constructed a bell and clanged it as loudly as he could to get even more attention. He transformed the bell into a bullhorn and yelled into it, "Are you all deaf? I'm right here. Come and eat me." But the forest once more responded with silence. At that moment, he became acutely aware of how silent the forest was. The only sound emanating from the location was the slight rustle of leaves in the light wind. "This is weird. Ring, look for animals close by." "Scanning," said the ring. Several seconds later, it displayed the message, "No life forms detected in 50 meters." Naruto felt uneasy about this. Nothing? Not even an ant or bee? Negative. Naruto looked about him. "What's wrong here?" "They are afraid." "Afraid? What's that have to do with anything? Please restate inquiry." As he grumbled, not your stupid errors again, whatever. Ring, scan for life forms in 100 meters. After a few seconds, the ring responded once more, saying, "Scanning. No life forms detected in 100 meters. "What?" cried Naruto. He looked around once more. With a single drop of perspiration trickling down his forehead, he asked, "What's going on here?" "Ring, find closest life form." Scanning. It took a little longer for the ring to respond this time. The ring said, "Closest life form located 230.6.4 meters southeast." Naruto immediately launched himself into the air and flew in that direction. "I'm gonna have to talk to Tsunade.no. Bachin about this. Did someone do the mission before I got here?" "Perhaps," he said. "Well, aren't you talkative," to the ring. Usually I have to ask you for something first. Command not registered. Please restate. What are you talking about? You spoke first. Look to your right. The ring was obeyed by Naruto. When he noticed a huge snake staring at him from a few inches away, he let out a shout. He summoned a huge axe right away, decapitated the serpent, and then retreated as the head splattered to the ground. Then he gasped, a leftover from Orochimaru. Even though the snake's severed head was covered in bloody ichor on the forest floor, Naruto halted when he noticed that the snake's body was still prone in attack position. But I thought you said there were no. When he took a closer look, the wooden spike that protruded from the ground and impaled the serpent through its front neck astounded him. He had to float down with his mouth open before he lost focus. Naruto was unable to respond to the question. Gruesome, is it not? The severed neck dripped more blood, but not enough to indicate that it had just passed away. What did this? Unknown. Naruto gave a headshake. You think that life form you found has anything to do with this? He asked the ring, his poise restored. Perhaps. Unknown. He said absently, damn it, make up your mind. The ring asked, are you afraid? Naruto thought that was an odd question for it to ask. Just spooked. It'll pass. Now let's find whatever did this, he stated. He chose to walk to where the ring was guiding him with a dim beam of light because he didn't want any more unexpected surprises. He discovered another dead animal on the ground a short distance away. He examined the squirrel while on his knees and discovered a single puncture that ran from its heart to its back. He proceeded, discovering a startling number of dead animals along the way. Numerous mutilated animal corpses littered his path, ranging from deer and tigers to giant leeches and centipedes. A chilly shiver ran down his spine. Unnerved. When asked, this is wrong, Naruto replied. Someone did this. No animal is so cruel. Were you not sent here for the same purpose? He retorted, I would have been quick about it at least. When he came to a clearing full of more corpses, he stopped. Horrible. Who did this to you all? Ring, where's that life form? Life form readings lost. Huh? It should be here. Where did it go? Was it one of these animals? Negative. Life form identified as human. Then where is he? Unknown. With a growl, Naruto struck the closest tree. Damn it, what's going on here? Are you afraid? He called out to the ring. What's up with you? You want me to say yes or something? Maybe you should just give up. Before remembering the first thing the ring had told him a few nights prior, Naruto nearly yelled back at it. He looked around again, but this time he used his ninja senses rather than the power ring. You're not the ring. You talk about fear, when the ring is about no fear. A thick beam of light was emitted towards a tree on the opposite side of the clearing by the lantern as he raised his arm. A humanoid figure leapt from behind the beam as soon as it struck, landing a short distance in front of Naruto. It's about time you figured it out, Naruto-kun, the man remarked. Naruto quickly looked down to avoid his piercing gaze after recognizing his enemy's face and black and red cloak. Uchiha. Itachi. Naruto immediately boosted his green aura to its maximum intensity. Naruto pointed his ring directly at the Akatsuki without making eye contact. What are you doing here? Back again to try and capture me? You should have brought your shark friend along for that. Kisame is indisposed at this time, and is this massacre you're doing? Calmly, a test, he replied. Well, congratulations, you're still the same bloodthirsty killer as always, Naruto replied. It was more than a test of my prowess, Naruto-kun, Itachi replied. Naruto charged his ring for another blast in response to his step forward. So the rumors are true. You've come into possession of a great power. You heard right, said the blonde. I'm gonna do great things with it, starting with taking you out. Ah, yes, the part about defeating me and my companions, and rescuing my foolish little brother, Itachi said. I heard you when you spoke with Kakashi-san. When Naruto heard Itachi's words, he tensed. You were there. In a way, the Uchiha replied in a mysterious manner. It matters not. What matters is that I am here, right where you want me. Though I still believe you are not capable of defeating me. Stick around, shot back Naruto. I'll do the same thing to you that I did to the metal. Itachi spread his arms wide, beckoning Naruto to strike. Very well. Oddly, he kept his hands inside the sleeves of the cloak. Here I am. Naruto expelled the charge from his ring, saying, beware my power. Instead, Itachi barely jumped over the lightning. Fast attack as a beam of green light blasted straight at him. Behind him, the forest burst, strewing dust, rock, and wood all over the clearing. Naruto leapt to the sky and used a big fan to blow away the dust in order to avoid any ambushes. To his astonishment, the animal corpses had vanished along with Itachi. He speculated, he had me in a genjutsu all that time? Even as a Green Lantern, Itachi had deceived him, which made him uneasy. Ring, listen closely. Make my mask a blinder so no energy can come through, but make it so that I can somehow still see what's going on. Complying. Adapting for virtual optics. Naruto's world briefly turned black before returning, but this time everything was covered in green. He quickly used a summoned target dummy to capture the incoming kunai that he had caught out of the corner of his eye. Then, using green energy, the dummy grabbed the knife and threw it back where it had come from, resulting in another explosion. Itachi came out of the dust, his cloak a little soiled and ripped, but not broken. Naruto rushed in his direction right away. Kaden. Gokakyu no Jutsu. Itachi exhaled deeply before launching a huge ball of fire in Naruto's direction. The Green Lantern charged through the assault unabated and came out of it unharmed. He proceeded right away by dousing Itachi in conjured shuriken. Once more, the Uchiha killer ducked out of the way as a few grabbed and tore at his cloak. Following Itachi from the safety of the air and launching more attacks at him, Naruto continued to apply pressure. Itachi sidestepped and retaliated, launching his own fire jutsus and kunai, which Naruto effortlessly deflected by enlarging his aura into a shield sphere. Naruto mockingly asked, "Is this all you can do without genjutsu?" Instead of responding, Itachi spat out big globs of water that resembled him. Naruto was able to witness the real one disappear back into the trees because of his improved mask. "Get back here." The ring speared the 5 clones and electrocuted them with green energy in one motion, and a crowd of toad-like structures surrounded his opponent and prevented him from leaving farther into the forest. Itachi reappeared and leapt to land a Gokakyu point. Blank. The green shield held, and Naruto took advantage of the situation to call forth 2 powerful fists, snagging Itachi and hurling him violently to the ground. The Uchiha turned at the last second and came to rest. He remarked, "Impressive, Naruto-kun, I might have to take you seriously." Naruto teasingly said, "You're a little late for that," grinning broadly. Itachi felt a firm hold on his legs before he could inquire. Startled, he looked down to see his lower body stuck in the concrete. Suddenly, 2 heavy chains collared his neck and a tangle of vines bound his arms. "You thought I was throwing all those shurikens for show? I left them underground until you were close enough for me to turn them into traps." "Trickery does not become you, Naruto-kun," Itachi remarked. "Do you think this will hold me? You know that I'm capable of more. I won't let you do more. Do you really believe I would come here without knowing what you can do as a lantern? That I would not have a way to capture you even with your new powers?" "You're bluffing," mentioned Naruto. "You're caught. I can tell that's the real you chained." "It matters not. When I free myself, you will see that even with your ring, you are still weak." Naruto was grumbling. Rather than respond to Itachi, he called forth dozens of luminous green globes of power that menacingly encircled his adversary. "It's over," said Naruto. "No, it has only begun. Are you afraid?" "No, you should be. You will be." Just as Itachi finally revealed his right hand closed into a fist, Naruto screamed and threw his fist forward. The spheres fell upon the trapped Itachi at the lantern's command, and upon impact, they exploded in a destructive ball of yellow and green fire. The battlefield was enveloped in a thick cloud of dust, which also engulfed Naruto. Naruto landed in front of his opponent's location after descending, satisfied. He declared, "Sasuke, your clan is avenged, I did it." Itachi's voice roared from inside the dust cloud, "You did nothing." With a gasp, Naruto spun around, aiming the ring in all directions. He screamed, "Where are you? How did?" Naruto continued to search for Itachi, but his voice was hazy and the dust blocked his vision. "My first genjutsu was not a test of my abilities. I was testing you in the Green Lantern Corp's power ring. I was testing your fear." Naruto retorted, "How do you know about the core?" Itachi's response was, "Your fear allowed me to fool not just you, but your ring as well." "Ring, find him." Fear overriding willpower, was its response. Before Naruto could ask it what it meant, a powerful wind blew away all of the smoke. Still chained and bound, Itachi was encircled by a shield sphere that resembled his own green one. Itachi's own construct looked bright yellow, but his mask revealed an emerald-colored virtual reality. The globe faded, but Itachi's right fist continued to glow brightly golden. To Naruto's dismay, the Uchiha wore a ring that matched his own on his middle finger, which was the focus of the moving light. The concrete that bound his legs crumbled, the tendrils withered, and the chains rusted, but the words, "I know your fears, Naruto-kun. Despite your naive bravado, you are afraid of your failures, of your weakness, and of me." With his face drenched in cold sweat, Naruto stood there helpless to stop Itachi from escaping the green constructs with the least amount of effort. You are afraid. You are ready to see that yours is not the only light to shine. Itachi tore off the last of his faded Akatsuki cloak as he was speaking, exposing a form-fitting black suit with yellow spike like designs running down from his shoulders and neck to his torso. Armbands and thick amber boots completed his new outfit. The Uchiha's suit had a sigil in the middle, just like Naruto's lantern uniform, but the shape of the logo was different, with two handles that extended from the inner circle's bottom to its top. Naruto was terrified and kept looking into Itachi's eyes, which were now glowing yellow rather than red due to the same symbol overlapping his Sharingan. The remnants of his cloak were thrown aside by the Uchiha prodigy, and a golden miasma poured out of his ring to envelop him and his surroundings. On the darkest day, on the brightest night, watch out that your fears come to light. Allow those who attempt to thwart what is right, like my power, burn. Uchiha's power. Slowly, almost casually, Itachi lifted his own yellow power ring and pointed it straight at his stunned opponent. Tell me, Naruto-kun, what is your greatest fear? Uzumaki Naruto is my name. I am a Green Lantern Corps officer. Sector 2814 of space. And I'm in serious trouble. Slowly, almost casually, Itachi lifted his own yellow power ring and pointed it straight at his stunned opponent. Tell me, Naruto-kun, what is your greatest fear? In response, Naruto blasted Itachi once more. The green beam was casually swatted away by the older ninja, destroying another area of forest but sparing him and his right hand. Now you see the limits of your ring, he stated. He casually walked a few paces in Naruto's direction, saying, a fearful Green Lantern is a worthless Green Lantern. Naruto shouted, stay away, at him. Another beam he fired reflected off Itachi's aura. When Uchiha, dressed in yellow, said, I suppose you are not as fearless as your ring believed, this should be quick. I'm not done yet, exclaimed Naruto. With a green fist, he struck Itachi as he flew in his direction. The blow broke the yellow-clad lantern like glass rather than knocking him down. Wah! The shattered pieces expanded, pulsed, and changed into huge yellow ravens that rushed towards Naruto right away. He swatted the birds away in vain and yelled, get off me! They pecked, bit, and clawed everywhere they could as they relentlessly attacked him. Naruto leapt straight up and separated himself from the ravens, launching a volley of lasers that hit the birds with a startling accuracy. However, the ravens divided into smaller crows once more, and Naruto was overpowered by the swifter constructs. Damn it! He exclaimed. The crows immediately attacked the spherical shield he created by expanding his aura. With minimal effort, their beaks cracked the eggshell like ball, and the constructs quickly encircled him. All that was visible to Naruto were moving yellow blurs that obstructed his vision. Naruto turned his head and grunted, over here. He hardly saw Itachi before he struck the younger ninja with his fist, sending him tumbling to the ground below. However, Itachi caught Naruto in a summoned rope and pulled him back up before he crashed. The Green Lantern made a pair of scissors out of desperation and attempted to cut the rope, but after multiple unsuccessful attempts, his creation broke, and the split blades fell into the forest. Is this all your pithy willpower can accomplish? Not even close, retorted Naruto. Itachi heard a loud rustling that grew louder as he considered his target's response. He turned to see a big tree flying directly at him, encircled by a green aura. A piece of the scissor construct he had made moments before was embedded in its cleanly cut base. With a swift spin, the dark-haired Akatsuki produced a huge bear trap that crushed the tree, forcing his captive to surrender. Itachi was startled when he was struck from behind by a second tree. Itachi was crushed when Naruto aimed the tree back down with his ring. Without any delay, he called forth a huge hammer and battered his adversary, causing the tree and Itachi to be flattened. When Naruto was certain the evil lantern was done, he dissolved the hammer while panting. He drifted downward and discovered the location of Itachi on a wooden log. Kawarimi, Itachi teasingly said, you've improved, Naruto-kun. The bright afternoon sun behind Naruto instantly blinded him as he looked up at his foe. He willed his mask to block the intense light, but Itachi's eyes remained a clashing golden color despite the green tint that resulted. But it appears that in flaunting your new skills you are content to forsake others. What do you mean? His hands executed lightning fast seals before concluding with the tiger gesture, saying, you have no hope of defeating me. I am the superior lantern, just as I am the superior shinobi. The elder ninja hurled a huge orange fireball that charred the air and sped in Naruto's direction, saying, Kaden, Gokakyu no Jutsu. In order to stop the approaching jutsu, the Green Lantern instantly built a massive shield. As the fireball struck the shield and burst, The intense heat engulfed Naruto and his surroundings. He would have suffered the same fate as the now desolate clearing if it weren't for the force field that surrounded him. However, Naruto noticed several yellow gleams coming from inside the flaming remnants as he contained the remaining flames. His aura and shield were easily destroyed by 6 kunai constructs concealed within the jutsu. As the energy blades penetrated his shoulders, legs, and chest, Naruto exclaimed, "Jia!" One final blade glanced at his right cheek. From behind the last of the dying flames, Itachi mockingly said, "Well, Naruto-kun, what do you think of my better power ring?" "Screw you," grunted Naruto. In response, his opponent caused the yellow kunais to twist and penetrate his skin more deeply. Naruto grunted loudly and gritted his teeth, but he spared Itachi the joy of yelling once more. When he waved his hand, the 5 knives grew hooks that held Naruto firmly in place and thick ropes that were tied back to Itachi's ring. "Don't worry. You should know by now that I have no intention of killing you. You are of much more use to me alive. I won't let you take me back to Akatsuki. I was not referring to those tools," Itachi struck back. "It doesn't matter, I'm still gonna kick your butt," Itachi jokingly said, "HMPH. You are certainly doing a good job of it." Despite the pain, Naruto pressed his hands together to form a seal rather than reacting to his opponent's taunt. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. 5 clones materialized all around him, and as he used the power of his ring to hold them in the air, they all grabbed hold of the yellow tendrils and pulled violently. They swiftly and carefully released the real Naruto and hurled the hooks at Itachi as he was pulled down towards Naruto and his shadow clones. The latter threw off the hooks and accelerated in Naruto's direction, directing his clones to stop Itachi as he applied green bandages to his injuries. The clones rose and came closer and closer to Itachi. Itachi yelled, "Vanish!" The 5 clones ducked under the beams and wielded the katanas that the real Naruto had made for them. Itachi kicked the first clone, causing it to vanish in a puff, but the other 4 exploited Itachi's vulnerability. They prepared their swords and screamed ominously. Abruptly, the aura surrounding the clones vanished along with their katanas. The clones disintegrated into smoke after colliding forcefully with the forest floor. Naruto gaped as Itachi paused and looked curiously at the outcome. "What the hell? Warning. Power levels 12%, declared the green ring." Naruto shouted, "You have a limit, at it. When were you planning on telling me?" Inquiry never stated. "How amusing," Itachi said, grinning. Even though Naruto had only seen Sasuke's brother smile that way twice, it somehow made him seem even more dangerous. "It appears your little heroics this morning came at a price." "You," murmured Naruto. How long had Akatsuki been observing him since he received the ring, he wondered. Itachi remarked, "You are my target, after all. Now, it's time we left, Naruto-kun," before extending an enticing hand to Naruto. "Get away." Naruto threw his arm forward and released a bright flash from his ring in a desperate attempt to get away. Itachi had to shield his eyes from the blinding light, which was so bright that he had to cover them despite its green tint. The Sinestro recruit noticed that his target was no longer there when it subsided. Itachi remarked to himself, "I didn't expect him to actually run away. Ring, trace Green Lantern energy signature." Green Lantern energy readings minimal. Unable to locate target, was the response from his yellow ring. Itachi pondered, if he leaves the forest he may gather support. His weapon obeyed, displaying a forest diagram before zooming in on a sizable subsection. Ring, based on present readings, extrapolate perimeter boundaries where he may be located. Itachi didn't waste any time and drove after them. Naruto fled the battleground, deep within the thick forest of death. In order to save power and evade detection, he had reduced the aura of his ring to a minimum, and he flew nearly touching the ground below. His question to the ring was, "Any trace of Itachi?" "Minimum target distance is 147 meters. You can't pinpoint him exactly?" "Negative," said the ring. "Warning. Power levels 10%, was the next addition." Naruto landed close to a clump of shrubs and immediately ducked into the densest one he could find, saying, "This'll have to do for now. Why didn't you tell me you have a power limit?" he asked the ring after he had silently assessed his surroundings and was certain Itachi was far away. The ring responded, "Inquiry never stated," once more. Kakashi. Sensei was right, damn it, he sneered. "Okay, ring, then I'm inquiring now. Tell me everything about your weaknesses, starting with this power level thingy." Partial response possible. Periodic charging required to maintain power levels for construct generation, flight, and hostile environment protection. Minimal power reserves stored for emergency protection and minor administrative protocols. Total charge supplies power for approximately 24 standard hours. How do you recharge? Periodic recharge through personal Green Lantern power battery required. And where's mine? Unknown. Await contact from Administrator Green Lantern Salak. Then can't you contact him? Error. Unable to locate Oa. Before Naruto could finish his question, the ground shook and a loud boom echoed through the forest. Why? What's this Oa? What do you? Despite searching the area, the young ninja was unable to locate Itachi. Never mind that for now. Tell me more about Itachi's ring, and why you can't seem to do squat against him. Subject Uchiha Itachi drafted to the Sinestro Corps. The what? Partial response possible. Sinestro Corps. Villainous analog of the Green Lantern Corps, founded by former Green Lantern Sinestro of Sector 1417. Primary objective: control and conquest through instilling great fear. Primary weapon: Yellow Power Ring, possessing abilities equal to Green Power Ring. If they're equal, why can't you do anything to his constructs? Green energy polluted by yellow impurity. Offensive and defensive systems weakened against yellow. Surprised, Naruto questioned, seriously? It's just a color. A voice said, it's the color of fear, from above. When Naruto heard Itachi, he tensed up. He instantly reduced the force field of his ring to its lowest possible level. Then, as stealthily as possible, he looked both above and around him. The Sinestro Corps member was nowhere to be found, despite the voice. Naruto asked himself in a whisper, where is he? The words, "You cannot hide forever, Naruto-kun," were repeated by Itachi. Naruto attempted to identify where he heard it, but the sound was too much deflected by the thick forest. The forest fell into a profound silence. Naruto was afraid to budge. His uniform suddenly felt uncomfortably tight, and his mask started to slip as his face perspired. His own heart began to beat faster, breaking the stillness. There you are, commented Itachi. Naruto let out a gasp. Even though he turned around, Itachi was not there. He noticed a very slight yellow glow coming from his side, and when he turned to face it, he found himself looking directly into a yellow mirror that was slanted. Itachi's piercing gaze was the final image of the delicate crystal construction, which reflected light from another carefully aimed mirror, then to another, and another. Parallax Sharingan. The world vanished into obscurity. Naruto was immediately thrust into a stony, desolate wasteland and crucified by yellow structures to a single, dead tree. The sky was a sickening amber, and clouds of obsidian repeatedly blocked out the weak sunlight. Naruto swore, is this his Tsukiyomi? Damn it. Itachi remarked, so Kakashi-san spoke to you about it. Good. He crossed his arms and floated nonchalantly in front of Naruto. Despite his best efforts, Naruto was unable to break free from the kunais pinning him to the wood and the binding ropes that bound him. Don't waste your strength, Naruto-kun. I am in full control of this world. Naruto gritted his teeth and tried to attack Itachi with any construct he could think of, but his ring did not react. That won't work, added Itachi. As I said, this is my world, magnified by the power of fear. Stop your foolish discussion about fear, yelled Naruto. You're right, I don't need to remind you anymore, now that you are clearly afraid. The Green Lantern retorted, so what? Fear's just an emotion. I'll find a way to get out of this, then I'll beat you to a pulp. Just an emotion? Inquired Itachi. He flew nearer to Naruto and said while doing that, how did Konoha's leaders react during your first Chunin exam when they learned Orochimaru had his own plans? What do many feel when they hear the name of Akatsuki? What feelings does the Kyuubi you yourself hold evoke on your countrymen? How did you feel when you saw my own power ring? How would you feel about this? The world behind Itachi pulsated and rippled after the final question, and although he, Itachi, and the tree remained motionless, the rest of the landscape hurried by. When they came to a halt outside the proposed Hokage Monument's summit, Naruto gasped as he gazed down on a burned out and devastated Konoha. He witnessed the buildings collapsing and the village's life being engulfed by the flames. He saw the still, bloodied bodies of his friends and allies lying in the Hokage building as his view zoomed in. The tree and vines disappeared, but before he could react, a powerful fist seized him by the collar, and he soon found himself struggling helplessly under the one attacker's control. As Kakashi and Sakura lay dead, impaled by two katanas crackling with electricity, the real Naruto was appalled to see his former teammate holding him with ease. Sasuke? He asked. Tears rolled out of Naruto's eyes, and he cried out, why, Sasuke, why? Sasuke lifted him by the neck, and as the picture struggled, Orochimaru's snake-like features stared back at him as the flames burned off Sasuke's face. The former Sannin declared, Sasuke-kun and I are one, and we will have our revenge on everyone. He clamped down harder on Naruto's neck. He tensed up as a sickening crack echoed over the fire, and then all sight and sound vanished in an instant. After a moment that seemed like an eternity to Naruto, he and Itachi found themselves back in the same barren area. Naruto's heart began to beat frantically again, and he breathed heavily. "How did it feel?" inquired Itachi. Naruto was unable to respond. "Was the fear and sorrow you felt just some nuisance?" "You bastard!" shouted Naruto. "I'll kill you." "There is no need for rage, Naruto-kun," Itachi said subduedly. "Your home and comrades are safe, at least for the moment. I merely wished to prove to you the power of emotions." With panting breaths, Naruto repeated, "Power of emotions? Fear is not just an emotion, not just a warning against danger," Itachi stated. "Fear has power. Power to control your subordinates or paralyze your enemies. It can sow chaos or force order. All the Sinestro Corps has done is harness that living power to fuel the yellow rings." Naruto frowned a little and squinted his eyes. "Now I know you're crazy. The ring's fuel is emotion? Believe what you wish. How exactly such technology or jutsu functions is unimportant, but its effects are undeniable. Your own willpower, manifested as the light of the Green Lanterns, should be proof enough for you. Willpower and fear are very much alive." The tree on which Naruto was suspended started to tremble. Initially a slow periodic bristle, it swiftly intensified into an earth-shaking tremor that caused Naruto's nailed limbs to ache. With a grunt, he attempted to escape once more, but the ethereal kunais resisted. The dead plant started to creep out of its rooted spot and glowed bright yellow. The nails vanished, allowing Naruto to fall, and the branches themselves shifted and arched downward. The branches of the tree reached down, caught him tightly, and twisted him to face the main bark before he could straighten himself. Naruto realized then that it was not a tree at all. What had once been a plant had transformed into a tall, slender yellow monster that radiated more light than the setting sun. This is," Naruto struggled to say. In his dream, he recognized the beast. He was so stunned that he failed to notice Itachi's silence. "Parallax," murmured the elder lantern. A clicking sound filled the world as the golden creature flicked its long, silky wings. Its straw, thin legs and tendril-like fingers revealed a crushing strength that easily rendered Naruto helpless. With enough force to heave rocks far and wide, its long tail whipped and lashed the ground after dancing elegantly behind it. Additionally, different lines twisted and circled on its chest to create a rough design of the same symbol Itachi wore on his uniform and ring, resembling the beating heart of an evening star. With a shrill cry that echoed painfully in Naruto's ears, Parallax roared to the heavens. Then, like a hungry predator, it fixed Naruto with its piercing gaze. Its enormous jaws swung open, bringing the poor Green Lantern into its maw, where amber saliva trickled from rows of circling, sharp teeth. "Not like this." Itachi suddenly summoned a long, straight Nodashi, charged at Parallax, and skillfully severed its hands. As the fear entity roared in agony, Naruto gazed at his opponent in disbelief. After such an insult, it immediately reached forward to try to eat Itachi whole, but Itachi casually sealed with one hand and screamed, "Kai!" The desolate surroundings of Naruto vanished in a flash, to be replaced by the forest-shaded grounds. He collapsed to his knees and gazed at his hands, which were unharmed but still ached from Itachi's delusion and his previous injuries. For his part, his adversary continued to stand before him with the same emotionless expression that defined him. Incredulous at his adversary's behavior, Naruto exclaimed, "You stopped the jutsu? You saved me? I've told you before, Naruto-kun, you are of no use dead. But that thing, why did you bring out that monster if you couldn't control it?" Itachi didn't respond. Then he squinted, barely visible to Naruto. "Wait, you didn't?" Itachi then lifted his ring again in Naruto's direction and said, "No more talk, we leave now." The Sinestro Corpsman heard a slight whizzing noise coming from his right side. He moved his head sideways and used 2 fingers on his left hand to grab the approaching kunai, all the while maintaining eye contact and keeping his right arm fixed on Naruto. He only had to look once to see the assailant who was hiding and waiting for him to catch it. The seal, inscribed paper attached to the knife caught fire and burst before he could finish the sentence, an exploding ta. The ensuing explosion engulfed Itachi, and the loud boom reverberated throughout the forest. After protecting his face, Naruto felt a sudden, strong pull that pulled him back into the forest canopy. He noticed a black shadow encircling him when he looked down. "Got you," Naruto said as he landed on a nearby tree's thicker branch. He turned to see another ninja in the typical Chunin uniform, about his own age. "Shikamaru," he cried out. "How did you have Shino and his bugs to thank, Naruto?" Vainly attempting to conceal his identity, he asked, Who's this Naruto? Please, Shikamaru said with an eye roll. The other ninja looked back down at the smoke cloud that Itachi was in and said, "You might fool the villagers but not your friends. Anyway, there's no time for that. There's no way that attack stopped him. Tell me everything about his new abilities." "He's like me. He can create anything he wants out of that ring, just like mine," said Naruto. "He can also use all of his jutsus." Shikamaru swore, "This is going to be so troublesome." At that moment, Itachi leapt from the cloud. The force field of his ring kept him safe from the earlier explosion. "I have no time for games," he declared as he rushed in the direction of the pair. Naruto informed Shikamaru that, "We have to fall back and get more support." He responded, "Who says I came alone?" Itachi was on the verge of approaching them when the wood between them exploded, revealing another ninja. Konoha Shufu. Rock Lee swung a swiftly rising kick at the Sinestro corpsman. Itachi bowed back to avoid it and barely stopped in time, but he realized the other ninja wanted him to do so when his eyes met the sky. Another assailant appeared from above, this one rolling into a huge ball, falling with unexpected speed, and aiming directly at Itachi. Naruto was grabbed by Lee and Shikamaru, who then leapt away. Akamichi Choji yelled, "Nikuden Sensha," as he slammed into Itachi, ripping the thick branch from the tree and sending them both crashing to the ground below. Despite landing hard, Itachi was able to maintain his position and use a powerful shield to keep Choji at bay. Once more, he heard the same whistle, but it came from all directions this time. Itachi wasted no time in spreading the shield around himself, allowing the incoming barrage of scythes, spiked morning stars, shurikens, kunais, and other weapon types to strike, even though they were all marked with explosives. His enhanced aura was unaffected by the strikes of the weapons and the explosions that followed. Weary of being on the defensive, Itachi swiftly located the location of his most recent assailant, threw a force field over the still rotating Choji, and sent him flying into the forest like a huge wrecking ball. Choji screamed, "Tenten, watch out!" Just before he crashed, a white-clad female ninja leapt out of her hiding place. "Take this!" Tenten persisted in attacking Itachi with weapons drawn from her summoning scroll, but the yellow construct was unaffected by the metal rain. "You bore me," sneered Itachi. He soared directly at Tenten. Naruto shouted to Shikamaru, "She's defenseless," instead. "No," Shikamaru interrupted. "We just won." Before Naruto could object, another ninja in traditional hakama leapt out from behind Itachi and headed directly for the enemy lantern. "Juken. Ho. Hake Rokuhuian Sho," Itachi exclaimed as he heard the name of the jutsu. When facing a Hyuga, even a Uchiha had to be cautious. This was true even with his power ring, particularly when he faced Jonin Hyuga Neji. In order to counter Neji, Itachi started to build a construct, but the clan's prodigy was already too close. Hake ni Sho. Neji struck Itachi twice in quick succession, causing him to grunt in agony. Yan Sho. Despite the aura of the ring, Itachi's chakra flow started to be affected by 4 more hits. Hachi Sho. Neji found all 8 of his targets with pinpoint accuracy. Jiraku Sho. Tenten had long since vanished by the 16th blow, and Neji was gradually lowering Itachi toward the forest floor. Sanjuni Sho. Itachi and the Sinestro core ring were finally feeling the effects of 30.2 strikes, and the aura surrounding him vanished into thin air. Rokuhuian Sho. The final 60. Fourth blow caused Itachi to plummet and crash into the earth, leaving a tiny crater in its wake. Neji landed in front of him with grace. The yellow ring snapped off Itachi's finger and flew into the sky, leaving only a golden trail in its wake. Ring status report. Sinestro 2814 deceased. Space Sector 2814 scan for replacement sentient initiated. Neji questioned almost incredulously, "He's dead? You got him?" exclaimed Naruto. Where they had landed, Lee, Tenten, and Choji stood with pride. Shikamaru didn't show any emotion. Sakura's longtime friend and fellow medical ninja, Yamanaka Ino, landed next to him and Naruto. He put a hand on his head and a wrist around his wrist right away. "Normal chakra flow and steady pulse," she stated. She said, "Other than these wounds you look fine. Take off those green bandages." Naruto did as she said and vanished the constructs surrounding the wounds Itachi had previously given him, which Ino started to heal right away using her medical jutsu. "Alright. Everyone, let's take him in, but approach with caution. This is still Uchiha Itachi we're talking about. Even his corpse might be dangerous," Shikamaru stated to everyone. Tenten, Choji, and Lee moved slowly but methodically toward the unconscious Akatsuki. Lee and Choji grabbed Tenten, who had called forth steel chains to bind the body. Neji remained behind and continued to use his Byakugan. When he witnessed a surge of chakra leaving the body, his eyes widened. The four said, "Everyone, back off," as they leapt away from Itachi's body, which then swelled and burst into a dazzling yellow ball of fire. The frown said, "I knew it couldn't have been this easy, Shikamaru." "I suppose I should congratulate you all," Itachi said in a booming voice. "You managed to defeat my clone even with me enhancing it with my ring." Shikamaru commanded, "Neji, find him." Already on it, the Hyuga Jonin scanned the entire forest with his Byakugan. "He's not close," Neji remarked. He started to say, "I'll try. GLRGH," but was cut off when a stream of blood shot out of his mouth and neck. From the right side of his neck, a thin beam of yellow energy had exploded after piercing the left. Neji was thrown up and toward Ino, Naruto, and Shikamaru before anyone could react as the beam became taut like a rope and then twisted and coiled. "Neji!" exclaimed Tenten. Shikamaru gave Naruto an expression that begged him to capture Neji. He took matters into his own hands after realizing that Naruto was in disbelief. Shikamaru exclaimed, "Kageyose no Jutsu," as his shadow rushed out of him, divided into tendrils, and reached up to seize the injured Jonin. He was gently positioned next to the terrified Green Lantern by the shadows. "Ino!" exclaimed Shikamaru. Ino put her hands firmly on both sides of Neji's neck and immediately stopped Naruto's treatment. She immediately poured her healing chakra to seal the potentially lethal punctures after her firm palms directly applied pressure to the wounds, stopping the blood flow. "Shikamaru!" exclaimed Lee. "Will he be?" With a spinning back hand trapped in a jelly-like construct, Lee turned around and found himself looking directly into Itachi's red and yellow eyes. "You have no time to be worried for others. You may be fast, but not as fast as light. Sharingan." Lee collapsed to the ground, absorbed in Itachi's Genjutsu, as soon as he finished. Then Itachi, still alive and in the Sinestro core, aimed at Tenten and stopped another barrage of weapons from coming. "Is that all you can do?" Tenten asked, waving his hand as his arsenal, now encased in yellow force fields, whirled around and sped in the direction of their owner. Nikuden Hari Sensha. Shoji rolled into a big ball once more, but this time his long hair surrounded him and stood up like spikes. After quickly defending Tenten and narrowly avoiding Itachi's blow, he charged Itachi once more in an effort to impale and crush him. Shoji crashed into a huge whetstone that Itachi threw forward with his arm. Shoji persisted in his assault, trying to breach the wall. The abrasive surface of the construct held against the assault, and sparks flew from its surface. The rock wore down Shoji's hair until it was nearly completely gone, just as Sasuke's brother had intended. Abruptly, he changed the grinding instrument into a slanted pipe, through which the still rolling Akamichi rushed and emerged from the other end as though fired from a cannon. He said, looking around, trying to locate Naruto and the others, "And then there were two," he said. A shock went through his entire body at that very moment. "There's not much your comrades can do against fear, Naru." He asked. He attempted to move but was unable to do so. "Kageme no Jutsu, success." Itachi could roll his eyes to his side but could not twist sideways. His shadow had extended to connect him with Shikamaru, who was kneeling a few feet away. "Impressive," said Itachi, "but not nearly enough." Shikamaru remarked, "You won't think that soon." He made hand gestures that mimicked the removal of a ring, which Itachi had to imitate because of the jutsu. "You miscalculated, Nara. I do not need to move to be able to think." A thick, wide beam blasted from the surface of the Sinestro ring and struck Shikamaru's chest before his fingers ever touched it. Shikamaru was pinned to a tree by the solid light, which then encircled and bound him. "Now tell me where Naruto is hiding." Shikamaru grunted as Itachi tightened the bonds, saying, "No deal." He emphasized, "I could find him myself, you know, but if you told me, it would be less troublesome." When Shikamaru said, "I'm not trash that sells out his friends like that," the statement, "I'm not a traitor like you," was not answered by Itachi. He clenched his fist and narrowed his eyes, and the construct did the same. Two of Shikamaru's ribs cracked, and he screamed. Naruto heard the team leader yell in pain not far away, He's unstoppable." Ino reprimanded him, saying, "Pull yourself together, Naruto. You have a power ring too. You can stop him." Naruto said, "I can't," and shook his head. "I tried. I can't. My ring can't affect yellow." "Why? It's just a color. Where?" Neji, Naruto and Ino looked down at their senior teammate. His robes were red from the blood he had lost, and his voice was raspy, but the two holes were healed. He strained to pose the question, "Where's Naruto?" I'm here, replied the blonde ninja. No. Ino commanded, Neji, don't try to talk, you're still. But Neji disregarded her and went on. You're not. Naruto. Huh? You're just a coward. He grunted as he struggled to stand up, and Ino reluctantly assisted him. Where is the Naruto that we accompanied in chasing down Uchiha Sasuke years ago? Where is the Naruto that defeated the Akatsuki? Where is the Naruto that defeated me? The real Naruto would not have given up, no matter what. He would fight on. He then set his hand on the green circle. You are the only one who can stop Itachi. I can't, exclaimed Naruto. I'm afraid, and a Green Lantern can't be afraid. In response, Neji said, you're wrong. We all heard the ring say it. It's not about not having fear. What do you mean? It's simple, Naruto, Ino answered. She then gestured to Shikamaru and the others and said, fear exists to be conquered. Look at them. Take a good hard look. Shikamaru resisted the pain even as Itachi persisted in his attack. I will ask you one last time. Then get it over with, then, Shikamaru replied, because I'm not saying anything to you. Itachi aimed his ring directly at Shikamaru's forehead and said, very well. Omet Renge. Lee sprinted by Itachi's back and gave him a chest kick. The Akatsuki was sent skyward by the impact, even though the force field took the brunt of the blow. Even though Lee was still a little dazed from the Genjutsu's effects, he leapt to his feet, approached Itachi from behind, and wrapped his bandages around him. Itachi retaliated by building his own yellow bandages around the taijutsu expert and then extending his force field, which tore apart Lee's wrappings. Itachi threw the coiled Lee to the ground, spinning him around. Kai! Shouted Tenten. Itachi's force field was covered in exploding tags, which exploded as soon as he looked at it. But the yellow aura shielded him as before. He mocked her, saying, don't you ever learn? Actually, I do, Tenten said with a grin. Itachi was crushed between two enormous fists. You see, I was just the distraction. Choji was the punchline. Yo! Exclaimed Choji. He had overtaken Itachi by using his Baika Jutsu to grow taller than the forest canopy. When two enormous golden prongs appeared between his hands, seized them, and tore them apart, his smile vanished in an instant. His words, this is the end, before they reached Choji's size, the two prongs combined and grew bigger and bigger. The enormous structure then assumed the form of Parallax, who roared with such force that the entire forest of death trembled. The copy Parallax then snarled and lunged at Choji, saying, let the last thing you see be the living embodiment of the fear that festers in your hearts. No. Suddenly, a huge green structure emerged from the woods and collided directly with the hideous Parallax. The green creature, which was a hybrid of a shark and a whale, gave Parallax a sharp neck bite. Then it turned upside down and split the yellow construction in two with its enormous tail fin. Itachi was shocked to see his apparition dissolve for the first time. Ion. That's not. The Sinestro turned and saw Naruto floating directly in front of him. Believe it, Itachi, he exclaimed. His aura and ring were at their most radiant. After saying, Naruto.kun, are you finally ready? He backed away and threw a yellow spike in Naruto's direction. Standing his ground, the Green Lantern hurled a windmill shuriken construct directly into the approaching projectile. This time, Naruto's construct easily sliced through Itachi's, and if he hadn't dodged it, the latter would have been struck. Naruto warned his adversary, you're not going to take me that easy anymore. The ion construct then struck Itachi with the back of its tail, sending him reeling and bringing Naruto close behind. I said I was going to beat you, Itachi, and no matter how I feel, I won't go back on my word, that is, and always will be, my ninja way, was the statement. Itachi threw a quick kunai construct that struck Naruto in the chest, killing him. You are still afraid, Naruto.kun. Fear is eternal. You, and all of existence, will never be without fear. Itachi said. He was taken aback when Naruto vanished in a cloud of smoke for the second time in a short period of time. Soon, dozens of Narutos surrounded him, and the ion copy engulfed them before dissolving into a solid shield that encased Itachi and all of the shadow clones. The Akatsuki tossed his ring in the direction of the closest clone, but his hand was encased in a mass of tendrils that emerged from the shield itself. His legs and other hand were grasped by similar wraps, which then stretched him as far as they could. The true Naruto stood outside the shield, facing Itachi. He then caused the ball to spin quickly in all directions. You're right that fear will always be there, but I finally realized exactly why the power ring chose me. A Green Lantern is not about being fearless. A Green Lantern overcomes fear. He said. Itachi was powerless for once. He was unable to focus enough to use his ring due to the wild rotation, and he was unable to perform a jutsu due to the holds of the shield. All he could do was watch in silence as the clones paired up and started to form their own turning spheres in their hands, partially immune to the spin because they were floating in the air. The shield's interior was filled with the sound of swirling chakra. The clones finished their jutsu and gave Itachi a close look. "I will overcome my fears, Itachi. Just as I will overcome you," they said. The clones immediately obeyed and charged as one towards Itachi, who could only watch and attempt to strengthen his aura as the attacks occurred, after the real Naruto poured his willpower into the ring and his clones. "Take this, Midori Rasengan," he yelled. For a few seconds, the great sphere held, but when the force of several Rasengans became too great, it broke open. The real Naruto struggled to stay in place as the wind swung around wildly and violently, hitting and dissolving the many shadow clones. Itachi fell from the sky and back down to the forest after being flung from the wreckage of the attack. He was closely pursued by Naruto. Itachi could hardly get down on his knees. Naruto landed shortly after Lee, Tenten, Shikamaru, and Shoji surrounded him. Warning. Power levels 3%. "Now it's okay, ring," Naruto said. He walked carefully up to Itachi, keeping his ring pointed at him, and said, "We got him." Although the type of smile surprised him, he was not overly shocked to see him smiling. Itachi appeared satisfied for a moment. "Nicely done, Naruto-kun." "No, Green Lantern of Sector 2814, he replied. "Ring, power check." It said, "Power levels 27%, in response." When the Konoha ninjas heard this, they all tensed up and prepared. "I'm sorry, Naruto-kun. Maybe next time," he replied. Then, to everyone's astonishment, Itachi leapt straight into the sky. Naruto said, "You're not getting away," and did the same. As he left north, he followed Itachi through the yellow stream. They were moving so quickly that the forest below him was a green blur. Warning. Power levels 1.7%. "Sped up," he exclaimed. Itachi was barely visible to him. Warning. Power levels approaching 0.0%. Immediate recharge required. Itachi said, "Just a little more," he was approaching. Warning. Power levels 0%. Emergency backup online. Override initiated. No. Naruto was forced by the ring to make a rather ungainly but secure landing on the edge of Konoha. Naruto was left wearing his old ninja attire as the Green Lantern uniform vanished around him. Damn it! He swore, his fist clenched. As he drove off, he looked up at the yellow trail Itachi had left behind. He briefly worried about the consequences of attacking once more now that his power ring was gone. However, he pushed the fear away. "I'll find a way. There has to be. Next time, I'll be ready. We'll all be ready." Soon after, Itachi sat on a rock near the cave that he had been hiding in since leaving Akatsuki. He had to be prepared for the moment when the others would undoubtedly come looking for him. Ring, power check. Power levels 20%. His assault on Naruto served as a great training ground and source of knowledge about how to make the most of these new powers. In addition, it had provided answers to some of his questions following the dream from the night before. He refused to provide further details, but his ring had given him the names of two of the creatures he had seen and had given him vital information about the weakness of the Green Lantern ring. Right now he was more concerned about his ring's waning strength. Even without what the ring referred to as a power battery, he would need to figure out how to recharge it. He already had a few concepts in mind, and he would start experimenting with them after taking a brief break. The tiny cavern was suddenly filled with a hiss of static. He thought it was an illusion from an Akatsuki using Pain's communication technique, so he instantly activated his Sharingan and aimed the ring. FCZSH. RRIUS. FCZSH. Pond. Ta. Itachi realized then that the noise was coming from his ring. When he held it up to his face, he noticed that the ring was faintly resembling a human head. FCZSH. Contact, Terius. You have not been in contact with Korugar or Quard in 2 cycles. Terius, respond immediately. Itachi looked curiously at the face. Maybe one more Sinestro Corps member? He didn't see the need to remain silent because this was an opportunity to learn more about them. "I'm afraid I don't know who this Terius is you speak of. If I understand the process of selecting new power ring wielders correctly, though, then he is most likely dead." The face questioned, "Who is this? State your name and sector immediately." Slowly, the deformed head came into focus, displaying a face that was strikingly similar to a human but slightly different. It is usually polite to introduce oneself first. The features of the head became sour. "Insubordination may be severely punished in my corps." "Your corps?" inquired Itachi. He knew the answer instantly. "Ah, I see. Very well. I am Uchiha Itachi, And based on my ring's information, this is Space Sector 2814. The other individual now arched an eyebrow. A human, it inquired. How ironic. Another defiant Earthman under my command again. Itachi heard the curiosity in his voice. May I presume, then, that you are the corpse namesake? At last, the face became fully focused. This was a middle-aged man with a long, pointed mustache, short hair, and receding hairlines. Itachi was particularly impressed by the man's eyes. Fear bled from them. Indeed, pink skin. I am Sinestro, founder and leader of the Sinestro Corps. And if I interpret your ring's telemetry properly, it seems there is much we need to discuss.
That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this great story. See you in the next one.